keeping guys busy, you know, and yeah. And so I figured it was a sign.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
Hello.
Yeah, so
Actually, they're getting a 9 month system. Good compared to some of these single family residents.
I know,
You know,
that's why it just pushes you over the edge.
you have to have, you have to have a handful of them, you never would go in. Well, one's gonna pop in, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we're ready to go, we're ready. I'm like, well, they have a permit, we're not really ready.
Yeah.
Never know. Yeah.
So this whole thing about bullying, the bullying thing, you know, was public works.
And how do you pronounce your last name? Alice, so I started. Oh, sorry.
Nice paper, wow.
What we got?
Nice paper.
The best.
Alice.
Assuming Jim might come.
Thank you.
Is this just for commissioners or?
I think it's for.
It is for commissioners and
Okay,
I can share
staff.
part of the.
So I
Yeah,
have
I got
like
two
this,
here and I put one here for Jim, but,
one's for Matt.
oh, okay, you would know. Sign up.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. I was just writing people's names down.
We got a good crowd today. Oh, this is great. Anybody bring Christmas goodies or Thanksgiving leftovers or we'll take whatever.
We did. All right, everyone. I am going to start the recording. Just want to let you know everything will be on the record here on out.
Good evening. December 4th, 2025, Whatcom County Planning Commission meeting is called to order. I'll call the roll. I'm over here. Kelvin Barton, that's me. I'm here. Mark Brown.
Yep.
Daniel Dunn.
Yep.
Anita Eisenberg. Nicholas Wright.
Present.
Jim Hansen. Julie Jefferson. Dominic Masseri.
Here.
Scott Van Dalen.
Here.
Please join me for the flag salute. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it's time for Department Update. Planning Director Mark Bertonier. Give us an update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just some schedule updates for you. Tonight's public hearing on City of Blaine revised UGA proposal, and then we'll have a work session on the Birch Bay UGA proposal and on the land use, chapter 2 of the comp plan. Staff's been working, looking at the schedule. And we are looking at probably having to push your final comp plan hearing to January 15th, which I know Miss Commissioner Van Dalen is excited about. We just got to get in chapter 2 and chapter 3 and finalize that stuff. And then you guys have some, I think we need to finish, we're going to finish chapter 10 at your next meeting. There's a little bit of final wrap ups on those. And so just to let you know that. Next meeting, next Thursday will be we have that Lummi Island Code Amendment for you. Shouldn't be long. That should be a pretty quick one. And then all the appendices, 20-year CFP, 7-year CIP, and a whole range of appendices that go to the comp plan, glossary and so forth. And then December 16th would be chapter 2, land use. You'll have a work session today. That would be the hearing. On the 16th, that's the Tuesday special meeting. And then the 18th would be chapter 3, the housing. That would be the last chapter. And working feverishly to incorporate everything that we can in that and all the final UGA proposals and population and housing proposals and so forth. So anyway, that's the kind of the gist of that. So we would just come back in January and hopefully have one meeting to kind of wrap that up before your final recommendations onto council. Been meeting with council, presented them your overview of your recommendations on chapter 8. Is that this week or last week? Can't remember. They're running together. And had that discussion. Commissioner Dunn attends those meetings and does a good job of answering any questions council has about why did planning commission say this or that. So that's been really helpful in those meetings. And then next Tuesday is their last meeting of this year, and we'll continue. They're going through a series of motions of proposing amendments to certain chapters, and then hopefully will finish their preliminary discussions on the remaining UGA proposals. That was primarily Everson, Nooksack, and Sumas. So we had some conversations with them about that at the last meeting, and hopefully we'll conclude those with them next week. And then come January, there'll be 2 new council members. So we're working with the executive's office and council staff to coordinate kind of having those 2 new council members, giving them a download on not only comp plan, but on the entire kind of county government and certainly what PDS does and why we do what we do and all that. So a lot coming next year. And I know you're all eagerly looking forward to the holidays and gonna miss this, but you know. There we go. I'm glad somebody's got a sense of humor still. So that's it. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. So time now for open session for public comment. Eileen is our planning commission coordinator. Eileen, would you take over, please?
Yes. Welcome to the meeting. This meeting is being broadcast live and is being recorded and will be uploaded to the website. During the open public comment session, speakers may not speak to the items that are scheduled on the agenda for a public hearing tonight. There will be a separate section for that under public hearing, and I will let you know when you can speak at that. It'll just be for the City of Blaine's UGA, which I'm pretty sure this is why you're all here tonight. So you may not speak to that topic. I will start with those in the room first. You will be given 3 minutes to speak, and then I'll move to the attendees online. If you are attending online and you wish to speak, you can press the hand icon and I will call your name. If you are calling in by phone, you can press *6 and it'll signal that you would wish to speak. Okay, so I will start with those in the room for the open session. Would anyone wish to speak at this time? I have Julie Garner or Garney and Bill Geyer. Would you wish to speak at this time?
Yes.
My name is Julie Carney, and I was born and raised in Bellingham. And I own 20 acres of land on the Lincoln Road, 4610 Lincoln Road in Blaine, near Birch Bay. And I would like to have that property put back in the UGA. I am a realtor for 40 years and also a property manager for the last 15. And I see the need for affordable housing. And I would like to develop my property, the 20 acres, for 200 to 300 units of affordable housing. And it's very much needed. I just rented an apartment, actually yesterday, to a lady that has been living in her car for a year with her 2 children. And it's very sad, but she is now going to have a roof over her head. But what we need is affordable housing for low-income families. And I'm hoping that this property we can develop. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Bill Geyer Associates, certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners, and I'm here representing Ms. Carney regarding 4610 Lincoln Road. And first of all, thank you to the Commissioners at your last meeting requesting that our information be sent to you. It was emailed to you on the 26th of November, and I got confirmation that it was sent to the Commissioners as well. And what I've handed out to you tonight are maps. There's 6 of them here. It's pretty much a repetition of what was in my letter, but it gives you focus of where 4610 Lincoln Road is. The key thing here is, as we've talked in our letter, and as you have seen, the staff has identified that there's a need of 702 affordable housing units in the Birch Bay UGA. My letter posed the question, where are the locations? The answer is there are none that have been identified, none. To my knowledge, the only person that has come to the Planning Commission and to the county that said that she will designate 100% of her units that can be built on her site will be for affordable housing units for the 80% and lower AMI, average median income. You know that Whatcom County has an obligation under the Growth Management Act to properly plan for that income category. Yes, there's policy statements. You saw my letter that spoke from January this year to encourage you to open up the policies better, but there are presently no metrics, no consideration of programmatic components, nothing to direct you to achieve that GMA mandate. Ms. Carney is willing to do that. What you've seen and what we've sent to you includes the cover sheets to 3 civil engineering drawings that were 98% complete for water and sewer extensions with Birch Bay Water and Sewer District and road improvements with the county. That was for a previous assisted care facility that did not come about because of market conditions. When COVID hit, assisted care went right through the floor because nobody wanted to take the liability. This site was previously in the UGA. It was previously UR4. But here you have a property owner, the first one in Whatcom County, a long-term resident, a professional, knows how to achieve this, to put her property into 100% affordable housing units. But we can't do that until this body votes to put it in the Birch Bay UGA. We implore you to do that and include that in your recommendations to the county council. Be assured I'll make this exact same pitch to the county council when the ordinance comes before them for the UGA. But if you have any other site designated as such as affordable housing, please tell the public where it is, because it doesn't exist right now. But we are willing to make that statement and to do that, and I very much would appreciate your acknowledgement of that tonight, of what we've sent, and actually deliberating with the information we sent to you. And thank you for your patience. I'll be here throughout the evening if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone in the room wish to speak at this time?
Hello, my name is Gordon Montgomery. I'm a resident of the Semiahmoo area of the city of Blaine. I wholeheartedly support Blaine's formation of a UGA.
Yeah, and Gordon, can you hold for a little bit, because we're gonna give you a chance to get up and speak when we open that up, and we'll have a public hearing.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You just hold the thought and we want to hear from you.
Thank you.
As a reminder, this is an open public comment session that is not regarding the public hearing for the City of Blaine's UGA tonight. Anyone else wish to speak at this time? You can speak on Birch Bay because it's not a public hearing.
You can speak on anything besides Blaine.
Yes.
Hey, good evening. I'm Charmin Burnham. I'm a resident of Birch Bay. I'd like to thank the commissioners and the staff for giving me this time. I want to focus my comments specifically on the Birch Bay's UGA status under the final environmental impact statement, or the FEIS. Birch Bay remains an unincorporated urban growth area, which means Whatcom County, not Blaine, even though we share the same zip code, and not a city council, is the sole governing authority responsible for long-term infrastructure, roads, stormwater planning, and evacuation safety. Because we are unincorporated, we do not have municipal tools to collect transportation impact fees, fund police expansion, or build capital stormwater upgrades. Whatcom County is our overseer and must act as such, not simply monitor growth impacts, but manage them. The FEIS projects nearly 45% increase in vehicle miles traveled in 2045 in the Birch Bay area. Now, that growth lands on shoreline, dependent corridors, limited evacuation routes, mobility, drainage, and hazard planning must be addressed before additional density pressures are assigned. We also know from experience that upland development in West Blaine Semiahmoo has already contributed to a downstream flooding and stormwater failures in Birch Bay, including large impacts on Birch Bay Village. What happens uphill does not stay there. It runs directly into our low-lying neighborhoods, our outfalls, and our tidal basin. Residents should not have to oppose growth project by project while flooding repeats. It is Whatcom County's responsibility to address cumulative impacts about approving additional development upstream. Birch Bay may pursue incorporation in the future. We all know that. But today, right now, we remain under county governance. Until that changes, the county must ensure Birch Bay is not left as a drainage basin, traffic outlet, or evacuation bottleneck for regional expansion. This is not a request to stop growth. It is a request to pair growth with infrastructure protection and enforceable mitigation. If Birch Bay is expected to take on urban level growth, then it deserves urban level support, roads, drainage, emergency access, and safety systems sized for the 10,000 plus people who live there. Growth can proceed, but responsibility must proceed with it, led and enforced by Whatcom County. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else in the room wish to speak?
Which way is easier?
If you'd like, you can.
Okay, thank you.
I understand it's free.
My name is Lisa Guthrie. I'm a Whatcom County resident who resides in the Birch Bay UGA. Mr. Ammett with Planning and Development Services was kind enough to provide me with the workbook for the land capacity analysis. And to be fair, I haven't spent enough time with it to challenge any results or assertions there. I'm not a land use professional. But my comment is simply in hopes that everyone here and at Whatcom County recognizes the issues Birch Bay faces, such as demonstrated in the future shorelines document as an example. We need clear and forward planning with regards to any additional density, particularly along Birch Bay Drive and any low-lying areas. The comprehensive plan is to plan for 20 years of growth. Then we need to consider what sea level rise looks like in that same 20 years, along with flooding impacts from flooding and stormwater. We need stormwater management as well as potential utility routing changes to be based on those impacts. Available density at this time may be overestimated when the cumulative effect of these changes, and not to mention the modification or even up to relocation of existing housing units in mitigation of sea level rise in the future. Further, detailed critical areas mapping is likely to reduce available lands even further. As Birch Bay considers its future, protecting what we have in Birch Bay and our water is job one.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone in the room wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, Chair, I'm going to move to the attendees online. I see you 2 hands raised. Perry Eskridge, do you wish to speak at this time?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name is R. Perry Eskridge. I'm with the Whatcom County Association of Realtors and the Building Industry Association of Whatcom County. The reason I'm talking tonight during public session is I want to give you a little bit of a history lesson. Some of you may remember this, but my suspicion is that most will not. I want to refer you to an excellent article by Darcy Jones entitled Planning for Growth in Bellingham. It's on his website, Housing for Bellingham, and I will send a link to all of you later this evening. But I really think it's a good read for those of you that are talking about UGAs right now. Darcy takes us all the way back to 2009. In 2009, the County Council adopted Ordinance 2009-071, which called for changes related to the 10-year review of the urban growth areas. Well, what was going on in 2009? Well, Bellingham had adopted a population projection in the 2006 comp plan. And at that time, they began working on their capital facilities plan. The decisions that were being made were based on the analysis that Bellingham, if it didn't add more land at that time, would find itself in a housing shortage. This is a little bit under 20 years ago. Special interest groups at that time were pushing hard for lower population projections so that the city could avoid significant infrastructure investments and move towards a higher level of densification within the city limits. Ultimately, before it adopted that ordinance 071, council asked Bellingham to reduce the size of its UGA. But in return for reducing the UGA, Bellingham was supposed to develop infill plans, density increases, or UGA changes to accommodate those reductions. What did Bellingham do? They subtracted 4,400 people from their population projection in the 2006 comprehensive plan. Which makes you wonder, where did that allocation go? Well, in Whatcom County Council Resolution 1639-14, which followed on shortly after the ordinance that was adopted, Blaine's population increase went up 4,414 people, almost exactly the same. Darcy's article points out that it reveals that most of the housing that Blaine was supposed to build for those 4,000 people was never built. Why? Well, it was supposed to go, which is in that area, which is now slated for de-annexation. The county population estimate at that time was spot on, but Bellingham only grew at a 9,000 population less than what it agreed to take. And where did that end? Well, the county's own consultant said it. The plan ultimately was a failure from 2016.
That's it.
Thank you for your time. Sandy McMillan, do you wish to speak at this time?
Yes, can you hear me okay, Eileen?
Yes.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Sandy McMillan, General Manager, Birch Bay Water and Sewer District. Thank you for the opportunity to provide a public comment. The district has actively participated in the county's comp plan update process through a formal agreement with the county regarding coordinated planning efforts in the Birch Bay UGA. The county planning staff consults with the district in its review of buildable lands, select comp plan chapters, and general Birch Bay UGA and zoning plans. These elements developed by the county are relied on by the district for the development of water and sewer capital facilities. The county recognizes that if there are future changes in UGA boundaries or down zones, significant stranded costs to the district may result from installed capital facilities sized to accommodate urban growth. We are very appreciative of these coordinated planning efforts. Attached to your agenda materials is a packet from our district that contains our formal comments on the final EIS, a district report of our activities, engineer analysis of a sewer bypass concept, and a report addressing the sewer impacts for the site-specific UGA expansion requests from the 3 property owners. Birch Bay Water and Sewer District is the largest water and sewer district by connections in the county, and our planning efforts date back almost 60 years. The district was formed by the community to address pollution in Birch Bay and secure a long-term water supply. The district report in your packet describes in detail our wastewater treatment plant and long-term water supply. Historically, the district has partnered with the City of Blaine, our wholesale water provider, on wellfield operation, meeting monthly for long-term planning. Our wastewater treatment plant has been awarded 22 outstanding treatment plant awards with one of the most consistent records in the state. Even though there is no need for expanding the Birch Bay UGA, we are analyzing the impact to our infrastructure of the UR4 definition change, which makes up most of this area. We are also closely watching how the county is defining its climate change mitigation efforts. You will see in our comments an engineering plan for a sewer bypass line that avoids reliance on Birch Bay Drive. As the Future of Shorelines report indicates, even 0.8 of a foot in sea level rise greatly affects the Birch Bay UGA. We need to know how a hybrid approach of retreat and armor will affect our infrastructure. The district remains committed to a methodical and pragmatic planning approach for infrastructure within the Birch Bay UGA. The district maintains a neutral posture on the discussions addressing potential incorporation or annexation. We keep our focus on simply providing water and sewer services at one of the lowest rates in the county. Again, thank you for this opportunity to address you this evening.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else that is attending online wish to speak at this time? Seeing no other hands, Chair?
Thank you, Eileen. It's time now for commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, I just want to disclose, I had a discussion with Bill Geyer about his Lincoln Road proposal today.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, talked to Bill today about the project. And also, I'm excited to see so many people here. And you all get your 3 minutes to talk. If that winds up not being enough, please send written comment in. I read all the comment that comes in, even when it's like 5 pages long, whatever. But it's a great way to send a comment. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate the comments you send in as well.
Commissioner Hanson.
I had a conversation today with City Council member Richard May from Blaine about their UGA proposal.
Any other commissioner comments?
Brown.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
First off, I think it's important to turn up to these meetings in person, but in my continual respect for Kelvin, I'm still got a cough, so I'm still staying away, Kelvin.
Good job.
Apparently a few other people appreciate that as well. And for reasons that are beyond me, I also had a conversation with Bill Guy today too on the topic previously discussed.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments? All right, let's move on to approval of minutes for November. Sorry, what is it here? For the 6th and the 13th November.
Second.
Okay. A motion. Second, are there any comments, questions? Okay, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Right. So what we have tonight, next up is public hearing and work session, City of Blaine. And Alex Weisner is here, and Mark, is there a staff person in charge of this?
Man.
No, thank you, Matt. So go ahead.
Yeah, for county planning, Matt Ahmet. This is the last urban growth area hearing. We've had 9 already, and so Alex will present the city proposal. I'll bring that up and share it on the screen here so you can all see it. Alex, take it away.
Hi, Matt. And hello, Whatcom County Planning Commission. I'm Alex Wenger, Community Development Services Director for the City of Blaine. I do have a presentation I can share, Matt.
Okay.
Probably that might be a little more helpful.
Yep.
So let's see here. One moment. Okay, are you guys seeing the presentation?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Well, let's kick this off. So this is our urban growth area proposal map. You can see that there is no UGA expansion under the current proposal here. We are proposing a UGA reduction. You can see the area up there in the upper right-hand corner, which we're proposing to be removed from our urban growth area. and then another small area down by Dakota Creek, which we're also proposing to remove. And then that's it. So let's take a closer look at those areas. And before we do that, this is the Blaine de-annexation ballot measure results, which required a supermajority to pass, and it exceeded that at over 64%. So we were pleased with that result, which would remove this area from the city limits. And so this is 573 acres at the easternmost portion of the city of Blaine. So we do have that approved ballot measure now. City Council will take a final ordinance after a boundary review board review. That whole process should take approximately about 60 days. And then the city of Blaine intends to remove that from our incorporated city limits. And so our proposal to Whatcom County then is to remove that from our urban growth area. And when we do that, or actually when we remove it from our city limits, the county should zone that area that is currently in the city, and it would be removed into the county. And so we're proposing the county zone that area R10A. We think that would be a good fit for this area. Just one thing to think about, under the city regulations today, you could build, approximately 2,000, potentially more with PUD density bonuses, easily 2,000 houses in this area. Under the R10A zoning, that would be about 50, maybe 52 homes. So that's a density difference of about 40 to 1. So when we're talking about this area, building, over 2,000 homes in this area compared to about 50, which would help preserve our wellhead protection area. You can see on the screen here, this is how we get our drinking water source, which we also is provided to Birch Bay. These are our drinking water wells, and those blue lines on the map are time of travel maps to enter into our well system. That area is also in our most sensitive aquifer recharge area, shown in the dark blue portion there. So the portion inside the city limits is going to be de-annexed from the city, and then we're requesting that area again to be removed from our urban growth area. This is the other area that we are proposing to remove down by Dakota Creek. It's about 37 acres. It's an approximate density of about two homes per acre in that area, so rather rural density. The city has no plans to annex this into the city at any time, and there's pretty limited growth potential here, so we're proposing to remove it from our urban growth area. So looking at our land capacity analysis, our reduced urban growth area has capacity for just over 4,900 population, and we requested through the multi-jurisdictional resolution a population allocation of 3,500. That would leave us a surplus of just over 1,400. And looking at our housing needs assessment, we can meet all the income bands here on the screen. I would note that in our detached single family at 120% and above income band, we do have a lot of pending units. We actually have about 150% of our 20-year allocation in the pending unit column. And so we're going to, that's quite a bit. Obviously, we're going to continue to create single family lots in the city. We could potentially even create about 14 more by the end of the month here. So continuing to build on those numbers. And I think that those are some modest surplus numbers that we're going to be able to hit those housing allocation figures fairly easily. And looking at our employment numbers, our UGA, based off some pre-zoning that we've considered in our current UGA and our existing city limit manufacturing district, can accommodate over 1,200 jobs. We have that much land available. Our employment growth allocation, 1,092, leaves us with a modest surplus of 145. So all those surplus numbers have been greatly reduced from our original proposal. Those numbers have come down quite a lot, and we feel like our current proposal will be much more GMA compliant, and we think this puts us in a good spot with Whatcom County to get our comp plan approved. Just looking at our existing UGA, this manufacturing area shown in light brown. A lot of the other cities aren't talking to you about UGA pre-zoning, but our plan includes changing our comp plan to pre-zone this area to a manufacturing use. And so our proposal also includes asking the county to rezone this area to light impact industrial. One of the things that this does is preserves our industrial land supply. It's problematic for the city of Blaine to have Whatcom County approve single-family homes on 5-acre parcels out here, making it challenging to convert this area to manufacturing use. And when the city, and not if the city, but when the city annexes area into our incorporated city limits, our intention is to zone it for manufacturing uses. And those, having single family homes in that same area, those incompatible land uses next to each other can prove problematic. So our proposal includes asking the county to rezone that area in brown. I just mentioned that we have an excellent wastewater treatment plant that reclaims the water, turning sewage into grade A commercial clean water. I think that's pretty cool. We have quite a bit of capacity. The sewage treatment plant was sized on our previous UGA, which was reduced under the last periodic update. We're proposing to reduce our UGA again. So we do have a lot of capacity in an excellent sewage treatment plant. So just to recap, we're proposing to remove those two areas shown there from our urban growth area. And to summarize, we would reduce our UGA by approximately 610 acres with the East Blaine de-annexation and the removal from our urban growth area that preserves the most sensitive portion of our city's aquifer recharge area, minimizing those impacts to Blaine and Birch Bay's drinking water source. And we feel that's very important and should be strongly considered by Whatcom County. We request the county to rezone the area that's de-annexed to R10A, preserving that area in a rural setting, and also that the county rezone our UGA that's going to be planned for future manufacturing uses to from UR4 to light impact industrial. So that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
So, just commissioners clarifying questions, and because we have a public hearing coming up. Mr. Brown, go ahead.
Yeah, do we have a copy of this presentation? If not, could you send it to us?
Absolutely. I will provide Mr. Amat a copy of the presentation this evening.
Commissioner Masseri.
Sorry, I'm just wondering if we can get it now.
Commissioner Brown, did you have more?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just asking if we could get it sent to us now, please.
I will send it to you in a moment. How about? Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Masseri.
Alex, can you go back to the map where you were showing the request for the county rezone in your UGA?
Sure. Hopefully. We are having a little issue here sharing this, trying to go back. Okay, here we go. This map?
Yeah. So you said in the tannish orange, you want that to go from URX4 to light industrial. What is the current that's in the yellow residential, and what do you want it to go to? And same for the public in the green.
Yeah, so the big a significant portion of that area already is planned for manufacturing uses under the city's current comprehensive plan. And we're just planning to expand that manufacturing area to as it's shown now on the screen. And we're requesting that area that's noted as manufacturing be rezoned to light impact industrial.
Yeah, and then so is the residential currently zoned the URX4 and you want it to stay as that? I just want to get a picture of all those three different colors on what they currently are and what you are requesting them to be.
Sure, yeah, the residential can stay UR4, that's fine, that's currently that zone, and the public is the Blaine School District athletic fields.
Hmm.
And so that, you know, I'm not sure if the county has a public zoning for that, that can remain UR4 as well. I mean, for purposes of the city of Blaine.
Matt, did you have a question or comment on that?
Yeah, so the UR4 zone, as Alex mentioned, is intact. That allows one dwelling per 10 acres until public water and sewer are available, so that could remain. And the public area, we have a recreation open space zoning designation we could consider for that. It's publicly owned, and then, yeah, LII. So we would have come back to the planning commission with a separate ordinance on the rezones.
Would that happen after the comp plan?
Probably, it's going to have to happen pretty soon because when Blaine de-annexes East Blaine, we're going to have zoning in place. So that would probably come to you January, February, I would think.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't pull up your proposal, but there's one area that you showed after the one with aquifer recharge that there was a picture that indicated it was pretty fully developed. And you want to take that out of your UGA, right?
Yes.
Does that have sewer and water? Is that connected to your sewer and water?
The area is partially serviced by, I believe it's partially serviced by City of Blaine Sewer. There's an agreement to service some of the Arbor Shores area in there, but most of the area is not on City of Blaine Sewer. I believe Birch Bay Water and Sewer District provides water to this area.
And then who provides public safety to that area?
It would be Whatcom County. This is outside of the City of Blaine. This is unincorporated UGA.
I'm just curious as to why, since it's adjacent to your city, you don't want to annex it. Since it's fully developed, it seems pretty urban or suburban to me.
Well, the reason is to remove it from our urban growth area because we have no plans to annex it in. The growth potential is very limited. There are a high level of climate impacts in this area, and we don't want to encourage growth along Dakota Creek or Drayton Harbor in this location.
There's no question. Oh, let's see, Commissioner Brown.
Sorry, you just asking for clarifying questions now or commissioner questions?
Clarifying question.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay. All right. Then it's time now for a public hearing.
Adversarial question.
Eileen, would you take over, please?
Yes. I remind you that this meeting is being broadcast live. The audio is being recorded and will be posted to the county website. If you would like to provide public comment on this topic, we will take comments from those in the room first. So please come up to the podium, or since it's really packed, you can stay where you are. I will read off the list first and then ask for those who wish to speak afterwards. And then we would go to the attendees online. If you are attending online and wish to speak, as I said earlier, please raise your hand and I'll get to you shortly. If you are attending via phone, you can press *6 and that will notify me that you'd like to speak. And like the public comment session, you are given 3 minutes to speak. And once that is done, I will ask you to finish your presentation. I have Lisa Guthrie. Do you wish to speak at this time?
Yes, thank you. Evening again. Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment on the Blaine Comprehensive Plan proposal. I'm Lisa Guthrie. I'm a Whatcom County resident of Birch Bay. I want to acknowledge and credit Blaine for removing any requests to add to their UGA in Birch Point at this time. As this commission has heard, there are serious concerns over transportation, schools, flooding, and stormwater with regards to any development on Birch Point. We also hope that in the future, Blaine uses the best and most current references and science, mapping and published documents beyond their own internal documents, as the discrepancies are significant. Just some of these include the Birch include mapping of critical areas, CARAs, which are critical aquifer recharge areas, the 2023 Birch Point watershed management plans, and the Whatcom County Future Shorelines Project documents. Future development on Birch Point should directly involve BB Warm, the Birch Bay Water and Aquatics Resource Management, and the Birch Bay community. And I'm pleased to see that Blaine plans to update their current stormwater plans, which are from 1995, at least as promised in this presentation. The capital facility section of this presentation references Whatcom County spending money to improve, extend, and upgrade roads to support Blaine's growth. And yet Blaine does not pay into the county road funds, and they do not appear to be offering financial support for these roads. This is unfair cost shifting to Whatcom County. As the commission is hopefully aware, many of the roads and intersections in this area, which support Semiahmoo traffic, are rated as D and even F. And in fact, the Drayton Harbor Road has already literally failed, falling into the ocean, with Whatcom County residents footing the bill for the repairs that primarily serve the Semiahmoo Blaine residents. And even that repair has been further delayed. I've got an attached exhibit from Whatcom County Public Works showing the project, showing the condition. It's down to a single lane road and the status is delayed until further notice. Was going to talk about the bridge over Drayton Creek and the removal of that area. I do respect the fact that Blaine's talking about removing that Drayton Creek area based on the critical areas and future shorelines. So we'll skip that, but I just want to say going forward, we would hope that Whatcom County would have in place interlocal agreements with Blaine for any of the impacts that development will cause Whatcom County resources or will affect Whatcom County residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Chairman Burnham, do you wish to speak at this time?
Oh, yes, thank you. Hi again, I'm Charmin. Thank you for having us here tonight. First, I also want to thank the City of Blaine and Alex Winger for stepping back from the East Blaine UGA swap with Birch Point acreage. That demonstrated a real willingness to listen, reconsider direction and impacts, and I certainly appreciate it. But now Blaine is requesting the removal of Dakota Creek area from the UGA, stating that the roads are substandard compared to city standards, and the area is physically separated from Blaine by Dakota Creek, making access and maintenance burdensome. I understand those reasons, but however, at the same time, Blaine continues to promote development in West Blaine, specifically Semiahmoo, areas where residents must travel on county-maintained roads for 7 miles just to reach Blaine City core. Those roads are essential for West Side growth, yet they are not built, maintained, or funded by the City of Blaine. Recently, Whatcom County transferred $1 million out of its road fund, which once again halted Birch Bay road improvements, again dropped the Jackson Road Bridge replacement, and we are told, if we're lucky, we'll possibly get snow removal, one single route to I-5, so plan to have at least 2 weeks full of food. With Whatcom County capacity already reduced, it is simply not sustainable for Blaine to expand westward without assuming the county will continue to carry the full weight of road maintenance, deterioration, and safety needs. And this is not just about congestion, it's about risk. Dakota Creek lies within a mapped shoreline and tsunami evacuation hazard zone. If a seismic event or tsunami occurs, both Semiahmoo and Birch Bay have extremely limited road exits inland. Adding population and vehicle load without first expanding safe evacuation corridors is not planning, it is gambling with human safety. Evacuation cannot happen if roads are gridlocked, damaged, or underwater. Blaine either require developer-backed mitigation fees or impact fees to fund road improvements, drainage, and maintenance, or Blaine can use its own financial tool to address this. Blaine's transportation impact fee program is projected to exceed 1 million in reserves, and those funds are legally restricted to mitigate transportation impacts caused by growth. They should be directed now proactively toward the most critical connection, extending the Lincoln Road, to relieve pressure on shoreline routes and ensure evacuation access for both communities. This is not a request to halt development, but to pair development with responsibility. If Blaine approves further West Side build out, Blaine must remain at the table for road capacity, hazard mitigation, and evacuation safety. not leave those burdens to unincorporated Birch Bay taxpayers or a county already forced to cut road funding. If development continues in West Blaine and Semiahmoo, it must come with binding commitments for road infrastructure, hazard protections, evacuation-ready access, not deferred promises, and not county-absorbed liabilities. Road can proceed, but responsibility must proceed with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Geyer.
Good evening, Bill Geyer. I'm speaking now. I wanted to first confirm, Ted Mashaikoff of Razor Horn LLC sent a letter to the commission a couple of days ago. I want to confirm if the commissioners received that and the clerk has that regarding the Blaine UGA.
Looking for.
Who is it from?
Ted Mashaikoff. A letter that was under his company, Razor Horn LLC.
I don't remember. Seeing that. No.
Okay, well, I will speak to his letter then, and then I'll see that he signs it for the record. Again, Bill Geyer, speaking on behalf of Ted Mashaikoff. He's a property owner and developer in the West Blaine area, been active for 30 years in planning in Whatcom County. Comment on several components. His testimony tonight, speaking from his letter, is that he is understanding that the discussion of the Birch Bay UGA, the Blaine UGA, is very complex, and as some of the speakers have identified tonight, you can get into complexities of decisions that, when it comes to development, is beyond the capacity of Whatcom County to manage. Mr. Mashaikoff's strongly urging the Planning Commission to think in the very long term and considering his perspectives on two questions. One, whether Birch Bay lands are appropriate for the UGA consideration, and if so, number two, which jurisdiction is better suited as the management jurisdiction of it, that is Birch Bay, UGA, or ultimately the annexation of the city of Blaine. It is his opinion that Birch Point is highly appropriate for UGA/annexation and is in line with GMA tenants, and these are in the RCWs, that number one, the land that he's speaking to, West Blaine, as it's been identified before, is effectively, it's not agricultural land. It's effectively a donut surrounded by other development around it. It sits between two urbanized areas. There are no significant critical areas in the property. It's a very large aggregation of land with minimum owners that can develop that up to 1,100 acres to meet the housing needs that we have in a portion of the county. It's clear to him that Blaine should be the recipient of Birch Point, and it should be included and kept alive in its UGA status because it's Blaine as a municipality has the full level of services that can be delivered as opposed to Whatcom County. And we would note that any stormwater component, as has been mentioned tonight, is best handled through the development of the property because of the application of the Western Washington stormwater management procedures. Those are better implemented through a municipality rather than Whatcom County. And it's only through that investment can you have solutions for the drainage that's been identified here tonight as it moves downstream. In other words, putting the West Blaine component into the Blaine UGA allows for the proper management of that drainage through contractual obligations and permits executed by Blaine and the state of Washington. So I thank you, and I will have him resend this to you.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Garney, do you wish to speak?
No.
Peter Fraser?
Your commissioners, thank you for having me. My name is Peter Fraser, lifelong resident of Whatcom County and consultant with Conflux Associates, campaigning for expanding Bellingham's UGAs, but my remarks are regarding Blaine. I will be quoting heavily from Planning for Growth in Bellingham by Darcy Jones, already mentioned once tonight. It's a sad history of 20 years of underplanning by Bellingham, which has affected Blaine. And I quote here, in 2014, the city of Blaine adopted a population projection. This resolution allocated growth of 4,400 people to Blaine by 2036. The unusual excessive surplus of population allocation to Blaine and similarly Birch Bay came directly from Bellingham rather than the unincorporated rural areas of Whatcom County, as it was intended. Population and housing that is shifted from Bellingham to Blaine does not positively influence the economic health nor the housing crisis. This shift has put severe pressure on the city of Blaine. Blaine and Birch Bay did not have the appropriate infrastructure planned to accommodate the new population that is allocated to them. To this day, these homes have yet to be created. Blaine still has incomplete infrastructure, and Birch Bay has many critical wetlands that must be avoided. If the population allocation was left in Bellingham, the city would have been able to appropriately plan for infrastructure as necessary. That is the chain of events. And now the historical context. In 2003, Bellingham committed to accommodate 54% of countywide growth and ended up accommodating only 38%. The county hit its forecast. The population came, Bellingham simply did not house it. And again, to quote, while 2002 population projections were spot on for Whatcom County, Bellingham accommodated 9,000 people less than projected. People came to Whatcom County as expected. Many settled in rural areas and smaller cities that were not prepared to accommodate that growth. Those people did not disappear. That allocation did not evaporate. It was reassigned once, primarily to Blaine, and it still does not have a place to land. Reallocating it again will not fix 2 decades of underplanning. It will repeat them. Bellingham South UGA Reserve is not new growth. Capacity is the original location that should have been activated when the allocation rested with Bellingham in the first place.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Patrick Allison.
Okay, Jeff. Steal this.
Go ahead.
Patrick Allison. I've been around here for a while. I was pleased that Blaine said they pulled this out of the River Grove area, but I keep hearing that, oh, it should be there. Now, when Samiama moved in over here and started building, they had an impact on drainage. One of the impacts was that there was a little, and I've told you this before, a little water district out here that their water supply dried up. Also, the area down and through here increased flooding. Okay? Now, the Boundary Review Board in 92 decided that there was a future difference between Blaine and Birch Bay, and that was going to be Lincoln Road extended out. And that Boundary Review Board decision, I think, is really important and should stay there. I want to talk a little bit about the 57 acres or so that are near Blaine. Got a bridge there that goes over it. Well, you know, there's housing development in there. And there could be more housing developments. It's very close to Blaine. Blaine should be taking it over, it should be in Blaine now. And they should be providing police service for that area. So good luck with all this stuff.
Thank you for your comment. Gordon Montgomery.
Hello, I'll just make a very short presentation. As you've heard a lot of discussion, I am in full support of Blaine's proposal to de-annex the areas they've stated as they attempt to clarify how they're going to move forward in the future. I'm not gonna stand here and hear myself talk. I think a lot's been said already, and I support those comments that have been made in support of Blaine's proposal. I will add, though, and I do own property in the West Blaine, the old West Blaine UGA. I spent $250,000 to get a 26 lot subdivision approved. And I had 5 years to get it up to the point of getting the services in. I'm not a development company, just an individual. I had some savings. I spent it all on that property. My wife got stage 4 ovarian cancer. 3 years later, I went to develop the property and I was told by the county, I can't do that. I don't have enough time. Therefore, my 26 lot subdivision expired. I'm here hoping in the future at some point, I can get a return on my investment. I bought that property when it was in the UGA. It's been taken out. I look forward to the day it gets put back in. I do caution everybody that one of the areas of great concern to me in West Plain UGA, the old West Plain UGA, is sewer. There are about 150, 170 septic systems out there. It's all on hard packed clay. I know I had a house out there. It runs downhill into the bay. As we know, Semiahmoo Park has had a shellfish closure for decades, I believe. No, I can't be quoted on that, but I think it's been decades. I don't think there's been a lot of testing. Where is the pollutants coming from? I'd suggest the hard packed clay with all those septic systems running down, the tide going back and forth has been a cause of some of that problem. At some point in the future, that will have to be addressed, but not today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to speak? You can stand right there or go up to the podium. And if you could state your name for the record, please.
My name is April Hashimoto. I've been a resident of West Plains for more than 20 years. During that time, I've seen a lot of development and the negative consequences of that development when it has not been properly reviewed prior to approval, or when the city of Blaine has approved a development with a commitment to enforce city regulations, but then fails to execute any enforcement. The negative consequences range from property damage due to flooding to lawsuits filed in Whatcom County Court, including against Razor Home, Mr. Ted Machowski, Ted's company, Razor Home. The residents of Semiahmoo and the board of the Semiahmoo Residents Association has been expressing concern about the city's intentions to continue to permit development in West Blaine without proper consideration of infrastructure, including stormwater management, sewage plant capacity, power, traffic capacity, and access to first responder emergency services. These concerns were realized when a rain event in 2021 caused damage to homes and property in West Blaine, some in Semiahmoo, but mostly around Semiahmoo, since Semiahmoo generally sits at a higher elevation, as well as washed out roads, which in some cases are still not repaired 4 years later. I'm not opposed to development. After all, I live in an area that was pristine wilderness 40 years ago. However, I do not want myself or my friends and neighbors in West Blaine, particularly those who live downhill from me, to be flooded out of their homes. I want residents and tourists to be able to continue to harvest local clams and oysters. I have attended presentations where the city has stated that any development in West Blaine is good for Semiahmoo without acknowledging that 100% of the feedback they have received from Semiahmoo residents is negative, and expresses concern that the city does not conduct sufficient due diligence prior to approving new developments. I read the urban growth area review dated November 18th that has been submitted to the committee for today's meeting, and see that it includes the following. On page 6, the municipal water and wastewater services continue to expand to support development in East Blaine. There's no mention of any investment for those services for West Blaine. On page 12, it says the city will continue to develop its water system and has a series of projects planned for the near future, but there's no indication of the cost or impact on utility fees. On page 12, there is also a reference to the most recent city sewer plan that's dated September 2004 that they plan to update in 2027. That means the city is making decisions based on outdated data. I remind everybody that in the summer of 2020, raw sewage was backing up onto a street in Blaine because sewage infrastructure had not been maintained as recommended in the 2005 report. On page 13, the city admits their stormwater plan is from 1995, and they have plans to update this in 2026. They also refer to a 2016 report to collect fire mitigation fees, which they currently collect, but there's no acknowledgement that the fire district repeatedly requests a lift to their fire levy at every election that has happened for years because they claim they're woefully under-resourced.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
If you would like, I will hand that out to the commission.
Okay, and send you a copy.
Anyone else in the room that wishes to speak at this time? Seeing no other is in the room, I'm gonna move to those attending. I have two with their hands raised. Perry Eskridge, do you wish to speak at this time?
I do.
Go ahead.
Once again, good evening, Commissioners. Perry Eskridge from the Whatcom County Realtors and the Building Industry Association of Whatcom County. First of all, I want to thank Peter Fraser for stealing a lot of my thunder on these comments. I'll just cut to the chase really quick. Blaine, a long time ago, was assigned 4,000 housing units, and we know they weren't built. And now we're looking at Blaine trying to accommodate even more population with a reduction in city limits due to a vote of its citizens, the addition of a sliver of new residential land, and what it actually comes down to is talking to people in the area. There's three lessons or three items I think you need to take away from this. First of all, one individual with a lot of money can mess up an entire city's planning efforts. And talking to other real estate brokers out there in the area that know the area very well, my understanding is that even though the city has land zoned for residential development, those property owners are very, very reluctant to sell that land or do anything with it. So I'm really questioning whether or not, even though the land is zoned, whether or not it will actually go into production. The other thing I know is talking with people that are much more familiar with the area than I am, that exchange of the Grandis Pond area, which is relatively dry, is now being put in an area that is relatively wet. Well, it can, be consumed by wetlands and the associated buffers. And I just don't think they're going to get the yield that they really need from that. Not only to mention that, but you saw the map, it's tiny compared to the other ones. And then referring to Patrick Fallacy's great comment, Blaine is also removing an area that already has housing development. I'm not going to argue that maybe it's not appropriate to have high density development on the shores of Drayton Harbor, but it is something to think about that if you already have development out there, maybe stormwater improvements and additional development might be appropriate. Finally, where does this all go? I know you're going to have to make a recommendation on Bellingham South U Street, UGA. We have the problem in Blaine because Bellingham shoved its problem up there. And I think it's time to make Bellingham start planning for where their infrastructure is going to be located. And in the email I just sent to you, Bellingham admits it needs to have South U Street in order to build out North U Street, UGA. Finally, I just want to say to Alex, you do a great job of planning. I know you've got a mess up there and you're doing the best you possibly can with what you've been given. And good job. You've done yeoman's work in trying to make lemonade out of this lemon.
Thank you for your comment. Wayne Schwant, do you wish to speak at this time? Wayne, do you wish to speak at this time?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you. My name is Wayne Schwant. My testimony will be very short. I endorse entirely what Mr. Mashaikoff wrote in his letter. I think it's very well stated. Focus on the long term. Adhere to what the GMA is looking for in UGAs. And we should have a very good outcome with the UGA in West Blaine. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else that is attending online wish to speak? See no other hand. Oh, I'm so sorry. Dorley Booth, do you wish to speak at this time?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Comprehensive plans are meant to guide local decision-making through a transparent, community-driven process. It is unclear whether this standard process was fully followed by the City of Blaine regarding their comprehensive planning. Birch Point's undeveloped lands represent a rare, high-stakes planning opportunity for Blaine, Birch Bay, and Whatcom County. Thoughtful master planning for the environmentally sensitive land on Birch Point is needed to balance growth, conservation, and public benefit. Birch Bay's watershed includes 12 miles of Puget Sound shoreline, with 4 miles along the shores of Birch Point. Birch Bay's salt marshes, beaches, and mudflats support critical fish and wildlife habitat and form one of Washington's most productive clamming areas, central to local recreation and Whatcom County's economy. Because of the bay's ecological and economic significance, Blaine must coordinate with Whatcom County when discharging stormwater into the Birch Bay urban growth area. A formal interlocal watershed agreement is essential for transparent, shared planning and funding of stormwater infrastructure. The Birch Bay Comprehensive Plan emphasizes that recreation and the shoreline itself is the core of the community's identity. The shoreline from Point Whitehorn to Birch Point is a designated shoreline of statewide significance, requiring elevated stewardship. Because decisions are made on Birch Point will directly affect Birch Bay's shoreline, water quality, and recreational economy, regional collaboration is essential. Joint planning among the City of Blaine, Birch Bay stakeholders, and Whatcom County will support 1. Environmentally responsible land use decisions. 2. Protection of sensitive shoreline resources. 3. Transportation and accountable governance. 4. Development outcomes consistent with regional values and long-term public benefit. To ensure responsible stewardship and compliance with planning requirements, a temporary development moratorium on Birch Point is recommended. This pause will allow time for 1. Comprehensive public participation consistent with state requirements. 2. Development of an interlocal watershed management plan and shared funding. 3. Development of a transportation plan and shared infrastructure funding. 4. Creation of a coordinated master plan that integrates growth, conservation, and community benefit. Such a moratorium will help ensure the long-term decisions about Birch Point are informed, collaborative, and aligned with the region's environmental, economic, and recreational priorities. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else that is attending online wish to speak? Seeing no other hands, Chair.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioner. Commissioner Brown, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barton. So, Alex, would you mind, if it's possible, I wouldn't mind if you could bring up that exhibit that showed the aquifer recharge area.
Yes, just give me a moment.
Yeah.
I don't think that's it.
There's a slight delay here with my PowerPoint. 1 second. There we go. Is this?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, just for clarity, did you get the email I sent out earlier today about wetlands in Blaine?
Yes, Mr. Amat forwarded that to me.
Great. Okay. So I'll just preface this, Alex. I don't want you to take any of the comments I'm going to make personally, because that's not my intent. But I got to tell you, I'm really disappointed at this. And the background to my disappointment is over 6 years ago, probably between 6 and 8 years ago, I worked quite hard to find a way for Blaine to fund the infrastructure to support Grandis Pond at no risk, no financial risk to Blaine, using EDI funds and a utility LID mechanism for recovering those funds back to the county. That to see that this area has now been de-annexed and replaced with an area that I don't think is buildable, at least not economically because of the extent of the wetlands, is really difficult for me as a commissioner or even as a citizen to accept. So I guess that's the preface. And again, this is not a personal comment to you, Alex, but I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Why? So here's a couple of clarifying questions. When was the well that this aquifer is served by? When was that installed?
I'm sorry, your question about what was the question?
The well that this aquifer recharge area is. So the aquifer recharge area recharges an aquifer that, if I understand it, Blaine is now drawing its water supply from. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a series of wells, sir.
Okay. So the well that is serving this aquifer, when was that well installed?
I don't know. It's been in place for quite some time. This previous slide here, if I can go back. Well, this is a study here, well protection program from Golder & Associates from 1996. So it's been in place for a long time. How about?
Okay. So then when was Grandis Pond, when was the application for that accepted?
To the best of my knowledge, I believe it was 2004.
Okay. So my point is that the city of Blaine accepted an application for doing development there at the time when they knew that they were drawing water from that area. The application is for a development for which both the stormwater and the sewage water would have to be treated, so it wouldn't be expected to go back into the aquifer recharge area. The developer spent probably almost 20 years, if I understand it correctly, trying to get this thing off the ground. It is an area that is much drier than most of the county, actually. So I don't understand why Blaine pulled the plug on this.
Would you like me to speak to that?
Sure. And again, sorry if I come across as adversarial, but I'm really frustrated on this because I worked a lot on it when I was on the council.
Well, yeah. So, that there's a long, complicated history here. And I'll just speak a little bit about the portion I'm familiar with. Blaine, and, speaking for, the city council, current city manager, previous city managers, they're highly frustrated too. We've done everything we can to put infrastructure out in this area for the last 29 years. We've worked with Whatcom County. We've looked under every funding mechanism we've could. We've tried extremely hard. We put a lot of local dollars, probably thousands of hours of staff time. We developed the East Blaine infrastructure plan. We've thrown everything at it that we possibly could. And here we are 29 years later with absolutely nothing. There's basically, it's an incredibly challenging area to serve. It requires 3 different sewer mains, one on H Street, one along that drainage basin divide shown on the screen there, and then one along the very northern part of the property close to Zero Avenue. It's a very high infrastructure cost. Since then, a new property owner has purchased 450 acres and said they're not going to develop this whatsoever. They don't want this to be urban growth. They're on record of saying that at a Blaine City Council meeting, and in addition, more than that. So now we have a property owner that wants to fight development happening here. We are not able to fund infrastructure up there. And, you know, based off our review land capacity analysis, we don't need that area to accommodate growth. And that's pretty much the primary reasons. You know, preserving our drinking water source remains, you know, paramount to the city of Blaine. That's just absolutely critical. We're putting a lot of effort into, you know, protecting our water rights, which is a big issue right now. And you know, building, you know, 40 times the density on this, I think as a planner, will greatly reduce impacts, you know, over the long haul, if I may. And just to, you know, one further point, there's talk about, you know, Blaine transferring density from this area where Grandis Pond is currently located, the area of the de-annexation, into our urban growth area that exists today, over by Odell Road, out to kind of Harvey Road, Pipeline Road area. That's not the plan at all. Very little residential growth would be going into that area. Instead, we would move that growth, which was, you know, approved at one point out there, into central Blaine. We can accommodate all of that growth with infill development, building downtown, working on the core of our city. You know, we have a lot of infill potential there, so we can easily accommodate 20 years of growth with infill development, and that's what we're intending to do. So that area in our urban growth area that I showed you a couple maps of, we want to expand our manufacturing land supply in that area instead. So not residential growth, but industrial growth in that area. And we know we're not proposing any wetland impacts. We're just talking about zoning here. So you know, all of the wetland impacts and buffers associated with that have already been accommodated in our land capacity analysis. And so we would like to use that area to meet our employment allocations.
So just for the record, I spent a lot of time talking to Michael Jones, who was the city manager at the time. And the reason he told me Blaine did not want to do Grandis Pond is they didn't want the debt on their books. And that's where I came along with the county treasurer and talked about the opportunity to do EDI funding and to provide a mechanism to keep it off the books for Blaine. So the funding, just for the record, the funding was there, it was offered. And it's very frustrating that it wasn't taken up. I have a second question, Mr. Barton, but I'll wait for someone else to have a shot. Okay,
Go ahead.
Hey, Rudd, this is Dan. I hear you, and I hear the frustrations with East Blaine there. I think to me, it's kind of a done deal, right? They did the vote. That's done. It's de-annexed. Not much we can do about it. Would you be comfortable maybe having comments that are more focused on the current plan and things that have been done in the past, have been done, and maybe focusing on these kind of things?
Well, Dan, yeah, I want to get on the record that I think this is a really bad idea. I think it was done for the wrong reasons. And I think the explanation given is not criticizing you, Alex, but I think the information you've been given is not accurate. As far as the aquifer recharge issue, I think you would find it significantly cheaper to move the wells and change the recharge area that you draw from than have to deal with the wetlands mitigation, which is probably going to require several thousand acres of pastoral land to be converted to wetlands mitigation, because I don't think you're going to be able to achieve that growth in that area.
Commissioner Brown, I think Commissioner Hampton wanted to raise a point over.
Yeah, I have a point of order, is that Blaine is not currently proposing an expansion of the UGA into the Birch Point area, which I am not particularly in support of anyway, for some of the reasons you indicated. But I think we should hold off this discussion until next year when they go ahead and propose this.
Well, point of order, Mr. Hanson, I wasn't talking about Birch Point. I was talking about the removal, the proposal to remove the east area from the city limits and to focus their growth of light industrial in an area I don't believe is buildable, at least not economically. So,
Sorry, light industrial, okay.
yeah. I will yield, Mr. Barton, unless someone else wants to challenge my comments.
Can I comment on Mr. Brown's latest comment there?
And then we'll go to Commissioner Rogers.
Okay, great. Just to respond, well, we're not proposing any wetland impacts whatsoever in our urban growth area that exists today. We're just talking about changing the pre-zoning in there and asking Whatcom County to rezone it from UR4 to light impact industrial, so that when we annex it into the city and zone it manufacturing, development can occur there like we were intending to allow, as under manufacturing zoning. And so, we've already accounted for all the wetland and stream areas in our current urban growth area. We're not proposing any wetland impacts. We're talking about zoning.
Commissioner Bright, go ahead.
Yeah, it sounds like, I know we've had this agendized thrice, and it sounds like over that period of time, a lot of work's been done to try to address community concerns, to understand, where the wind's blowing, to see what the annexation vote was gonna be, or the de-annexation vote. At this point, unless I'm missing something, the two things that are being removed are the only significant changes to current status quo, and both of those seem, at least to me, reasonable, although I'm very open to people pushing back me on that. So at this point, I guess I'd just move approval and we can discuss. Unless folks have other motions that they were
I'll second.
teed up, because I was not aware of any other motions.
I would either
people were
second.
planning.
You got it.
Yeah, let's
Move it on. Yeah.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, my only comment on it, I have heard that same excuse from Bellingham as well, as far as the Dakota Creek area, saying that there's already a lot of development there, so we don't want it in the city. Just think that's an odd comment when
Yeah.
we're supposed to get the developed areas into the city, and then to say it's not, it's not physically connected and it has bad infrastructure to it. Well, then why don't you remove Semiahmoo at that point? It's the same argument. So that's the only thing I don't like about the proposal, but it's a pretty small piece to the whole thing.
And Commissioner Brown, you did your hand up, so go ahead.
Yeah. So, Alex, my challenge with the comment about we're not planning to do anything with the wetlands in that UGA area is the Growth Management Act requires us to identify where the growth is going to occur. And you can't, no jurisdiction can identify an area and say, hey, this is where the growth is going to occur. It's not practical because we can't mitigate for the wetlands because there's so much wetlands, but we're still going to put it in the area and say this is where our growth is going to occur, because the cost of mitigating the amount of wetlands in that area is phenomenal.
Okay, Commissioner Brown, can you hold with that point? Thank you. So we have a motion to approve. Yeah, in a second. Okay. Sure. Any further discussion? Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, I think, Alex, maybe with the Dakota Creek area that, Dominic was talking about, could you maybe go in a little more background with that area? Cause I looked at that too, and I get it from the environmental side. You got the bay there and you got the river there, but it just seems like there's a lot of houses there. It's already served by sewer and water. It's on a road, kind of goes freeway. Could you just kind of give us a little more detail about why you're removing that?
Yeah, the city has no intention of annexing that into our city limits. And with the environmental concerns there, the limited ability to put growth there, we just feel it would be better to not be in the city. The example of Semiahmoo, there's a lot of growth potential inside the existing city limits where Semiahmoo is, and we've made tremendous investments in infrastructure to serve that area. So I would note that, but the Dakota Creek area is just problematic for the city to incorporate that. The city's never going to bring that into the city. There's just substandard streets. It would cost, it's like an economical decision. we would have to, it doesn't pay for itself to bring that area into the city. And so we're never going to do it. So why is it in an urban growth area? We're not going to allocate any growth there. We're not going to bring it into the city. So let's remove it.
Commissioner Masseri.
Mark, yeah, can you speak to this long term? If the cities keep deciding they don't want, they're cherry picking the areas they like around them and not the ones they don't, doesn't that just leave all the problematic areas for the county to deal with?
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
It's an issue, it's a longstanding issue. We work with the state legislature to try to promote incentives for annexation, right? To give some incentives for cities to annex those areas and provide services. And that there's just a lot of challenges to that. And there's a lot of, as Alex said, it's infrastructure is just gotten incredibly expensive, right? And so that's a huge challenge.
Yeah, I'd like to, I'll bring up a topic or a question, but we have had, Ms. Carney, her property, my understanding, used to be in urban growth area. Is that accurate? And then it got removed. But, you know, I'm curious why it got removed, and I'm curious if it should go back. But I'd like us at least to see what it is.
That's Birch Bay though, right?
Maybe in a Birch Bay.
It was Birch Bay UGA, yeah.
It's different country.
Okay. Yeah, cause I'm not exactly certain where it's at, so.
Yeah.
In Birch.
Commissioner Brown.
Alex, for you talked a little about the critical aquifer recharge areas. I know there's some discussion about the ones that were in, East Blaine that now are in the DNX portion and some that might have been on, Birch Point. I'm not super familiar with that. I understand like you're pulling water from aquifer, so there's a place where the water goes in through the ground, down to the aquifer. Are the map that you showed earlier that showed the aquifer recharge areas, is that, so the term critical aquifer recharge area, is that a technical term? Do you have like a boundary for where that is? Or is it just sort of more of a common term where people are, you just kind of make up your own definition for it?
No, it's a technical term. It's a, a regulated critical area. And we have a code, critical areas ordinance that says, what can happen in those areas, and we require studies when development happens in those areas.
And so in the East Blaine area, right now is those areas, where are those in terms of relationship to City Blaine or the county?
There's a pretty, well, there's a critical aquifer recharge areas in the city and the county over there. Like that map, it spans across the city limits and the big area of the county. The city's wellhead protection area is located in the county. It's not inside the city, right? So the city owns 255 acres, which is our wellhead protection area. And we get the majority of our water from, we have a couple other wells. We have some emergency wells and a couple other wells. But the majority of our water is from that area. And those wells are recharged through the critical aquifer recharge areas, and there's different recharge levels. There's like high, medium, and low per our maps. Our critical areas ordinance kind of talks about what happens in each of those different areas. And so I think go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah, just kind of along to that, with Rod's comment earlier about wetlands. When you look at your land capacity analysis, are you accounting for those critical area aquifer recharge areas as well as the wetlands in terms of how much housing you feel like you can build in the next 20 years?
Well, to answer that question, so the land capacity analysis does not take into account critical aquifer recharge areas. So that is not a factor in the land capacity analysis, but wetlands sure are. And so when we're looking at our existing urban growth area, yeah, we've already removed all the wetland and buffer areas from our land capacity analysis within our urban growth area. So when we look at the urban growth area, I mean, that's our current urban growth area. It kind of is what it is. And there is some very nice buildable land out there. There's some pretty big chunks, 10-acre, 20-acre chunks that we could bring into the city and attract, jobs to our community. The Port of Bellingham just issued a industrial lands study in July of this year that really emphasized the need for that. And so we're, open, to have Whatcom County support on trying to create jobs in our community on that. And that's kind of one of the driving factors of our comprehensive plan update.
Good. Sorry. Commissioner Brown had his hand up.
Alex, where is the city going to get its mitigation land for the wetlands impacts? Have they done any research on that?
Again, sir, there's no wetland impacts. Nobody is going to fill any wetlands, or, if a developer wants to come in and propose wetland impacts, they are welcome to do so. We'll regulate them under our critical areas ordinance. There is opportunities to do wetland mitigation.
Yeah, but again, this is what I'm saying. We're tasked with validating whether the proposals from the cities make sense and comply with the GMA. That's my understanding of what we're doing now. And the city is saying that we want this area for urban growth. We want industrial development, which is usually high density planned unit development types stuff with a tremendous amount of impervious surface. And you're going to require, the land is going to have to be able to support, I mean, your water and your sewer is theoretically going to come from your sewer district. But if you're doing stormwater, you have to do the stormwater on site. If you're doing impacting if a developer is impacting wetlands, they have to mitigate for those wetlands. And my point is if the city is saying this is where we're going to encourage people to do industrial development and job creation, I think the city has a responsibility to say, and we think this is viable because the developer is going to be able to mitigate for those wetlands impacts elsewhere. And if the city just says, well, that's the developer's problem in the future, how do we accept the forecast as being realistic?
Maybe I can say this a different way. There is enough buildable land in our urban growth area today to accommodate our employment allocation with no wetland impacts. And so you're saying there's a bunch of wetlands out there, and I'm saying, yes, we agree. There are wetlands in our urban growth area, UGA. We're not going to build those. There's enough land remaining outside those wetlands and those buffers to accommodate our employment allocations there. We can do a bunch of great light impact industrial development out there, and meet our employment allocations with no wetland impacts.
But the UGA area, where does the UGA area that you're proposing the county changes to light industrial, where does that fit in?
Brown, I want to interrupt a minute because what we're having is we have two people with an opinion and one saying, I don't believe that it is, and the other one is saying it is. And we are never going to get the two of you to agree on that tonight. Go ahead.
If I may say one last thing, I'm just trying to understand what Mr. Wenger is saying, because what he's saying doesn't make sense to me. It's not that I'm arguing with him; it doesn't make sense to me.
You're arguing.
Yeah, I don't think we're arguing. I guess I'm trying to say is we've already accounted for the wetlands that are mapped in our UGA already. We've removed that area from our land capacity analysis. We've said we're not building there, but there's all this other great land still there. I mean, the map that's been shared looks like there's no buildable area, but there's a lot of great buildable area in our existing UGA, and we intend to annex it into the city and put manufacturing development there. And we're asking the county just to rezone it now to light impact industrial and stop approving housing there. Because when we do annex it in, and we're going to annex that land into the city at some point. And our plan is to make it manufacturing. There's very incompatible uses there. And it's going to be, you're using up our land supply is another way to put it.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wright. I guess I'll state that my understanding is that there's a request, but we're not actually voting on whether or not that zoning happens or not. The request will go in, Matt and team will bring that back to us next year. So what my understanding is, what we're trying to decide today, and our job is to decide, does your proposal meet the housing element and the state rules? Do we have massive issues with the things that you're trying to pull out of your UGA? You're no longer adding things to your UGA. I have not heard a motion to change any of those things or someone saying that they don't believe that this is compliant. At the end of the day, we can definitely disagree over what we think the city should do, but we are not the city and we don't get to decide what they want to do with their city within their boundaries. So at this point, I'm going to move to call the question.
Commissioner Hanson.
Can I just have one short comment before we take a vote?
There was no second yet, so.
Oh,
unless someone
I'm
seconds it.
opposing calling the question.
That's all.
I can second it.
Okay.
So we're discussing the motion, calling the question now.
I don't believe it's discussed.
Not discussed?
I don't believe we're calling the question is available. Yeah, we just vote, and if it succeeds, we vote on the regular motion. If not, then we continue.
Yeah, it's got two votes, right?
Yeah.
Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. This is to call the question, Commissioner Brown. Dunn,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Hanson,
Abstain.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
No,
Barton.
Yeah.
It passes.
Thank you.
Right,
So now,
now we'll vote on the main motion.
this is for the main motion. Gray,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
no,
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton.
Abstain.
It passes.
Thank you again.
Okay, now, Birch Bay UGA proposal work session.
All right. Oh, was there? All right. All right, so for the record, my name is Matt Ahmet, representing Planning and Development Services. Planning Commission already held a public hearing on the county's Birch Bay UGA proposal on September 11th. The county does not propose any UGA expansions at Birch Bay. And as you will recall from previous meetings, the discussion of urban growth area reserve expansions is being deferred to 2026, 2027. The Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee and Mr. Geyer have submitted letters regarding UGA expansions. County PDS has concerns about Birch Bay UGA expansions because additional land capacity is not needed to accommodate additional growth projections. And equally important, the capital facility plans for the entire 20-year planning period has not yet been completed. So in the past, oversizing urban growth areas and lack of capital facility planning have been reasons that the Growth Management Hearings Board has ruled that urban growth area expansions do not comply with the GMA. So the proposal does include some zoning changes, which again, we're, I guess, asking for your concerns or questions now. These will come back in a separate ordinance later. So the UR4 zoning text would be amended to allow duplex, triplex, and fourplex development, and that would apply countywide. Approximately 13 acres on the north side of Birch Bay Linden Road would be rezoned from urban residential medium density 6 units per acre to general commercial to recognize the existing land use and create a logical boundary between the URM6 and the GC zones. Birch Bay State Park, approximately 187 acres, would be rezoned from urban residential medium density 6 units per acre to recreation and open space, that ROS zone. And then approximately 100 acres in the existing urban growth area reserve would be rezoned from rural 1 dwelling per 5 acres to rural 1 dwelling per 10 acres. And that would be consistent with the comp plan language relating to UGA reserves. So that concludes our comments. If you had any questions, we try to address those.
Commissioner Hampton.
I guess my question is, if all these zoning changes will be coming up next year, what will we be deciding on right now?
So this would be the UGA proposal for the comp plan. So basically, county planning is saying keep the urban growth area boundaries the same as they are right now. No expansions, no changes.
Commissioner Brackett. We put motion to do nothing?
So Matt, the Lincoln property that's been discussed so far today, your reasons that you do not recommend that we add that into the UGA at this point is that we don't need the capacity and it's not planned for in the capital facilities plan. Is that correct?
Right. So Birch Bay Water and Sewer District indicated that they will do their updates to the plan after the comp plan is adopted. Also, North Whatcom Fire and Rescue has not updated their plan. So the Growth Board has ruled, like even in Whatcom County, this was in I think 2010 or 11. In Ferndale, they had like a draft sewer plan and fire plan, and that wasn't good enough for the Growth Board. They said they need capital facility plans for the whole 20-year planning period, which extends through 2045.
Go ahead, Commissioner Brackett.
I guess my combo comment and question, obviously affordable housing is a challenge. It's very rare that somebody wants to build 100% sub 80 AMI affordable housing anywhere in the nation without dramatic subsidies. And I'm sure there are, portions of that to this proposal. But if I were county planning, I'd be looking at a proposal like that, not having the details, and I'm sure there are many more than I know, but I'd be saying, okay, how do we do everything we can to make a project like that feasible and move forward while the developer is interested and open to doing that? So I guess my question to you is, are we doing that? Is there something we as the planning commission are not aware of that we should be, that is, more than just, we don't need the capacity? Like that to me is not particularly convincing, because most of the quote unquote capacity for housing at the different AMIs that's on the sheet, we all know is kind of BS and largely won't occur. We know that the sub 80 almost never actually gets built, or it's not real. But we can plan for it on paper all we want, but someone actually saying I'm going to actually build X number of units and I'm going to designate them affordable is something we should be jumping on if it's real. So I'm curious if you could just shed more light to help me understand why we wouldn't be hopping up and down to add this to the UGA right now and give the county the ability to start trying to make this happen with all the covenants required to ensure it actually is sub 80 AMI.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, what degree of risk the county wants to take. If you and the council pass this and nobody appeals, it's good, and, people could apply for permits and so forth. However, we've also had the situation where the Growth Management Hearings Board found the county out of compliance with GMA. We couldn't get certain grants. Now there's, of course, increased heightened awareness of or financial issues with county budget and funding for infrastructure and things like that. So it's a matter of risk. Like I said, if nobody appeals it, it's good. But if somebody appeals it and it gets overturned, that could be an issue for the county.
For Matt, I'm a little confused about this water and sewer delivery issue in terms of urban growth. And the map seems to indicate that 4610 Lincoln is within the boundary of the water and sewer district. So seems like that takes care of that. And since we know that no one really builds sub 20 housing, if this was included, it would make the housing requirements look a lot better than to the Growth Management Board. I mean, what's your comment on those factors?
Well, it's not just being in a district boundary, it's having capital facility plans covering the 20-year planning period, with plans to serve the area and financing and things like that. Okay. So, being in the district boundary, the GMA is interpreted by the Growth Board requires more than that.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Bright.
So I guess, Matt, with the appeals concerns and certainly having worked through a decent amount of affordable housing projects in my actual government life, prior to volunteer government life, I'm very, very cognizant of the risk of someone, saying, okay, let me find whatever loophole I can to sue and prevent affordable housing development. So I guess my question to you is, would removing a portion of the UGA to add this to the UGA to make sure the numbers still stay zero sum? Like if you were sitting in our shoes today and as a planning commissioner, if the planning commission said, we want to make this project happen and we want to do it now, we want to make it not something that you would feel uncomfortable is going to get litigated successfully, what would you advise us to do in this meeting to achieve that?
Well, it's not only land capacity, but it's also capital facility planning. So we have districts. We've been working closely with Birch Bay Water Sewer District. We have I think a very good working relationship with them. But it's also, they're expending funds, and I think the district manager could speak to this if they want, but they've made the decision to wait till after the comp plan update is through to update their plans. And in the past, sometimes urban growth area boundaries, I'm just not talking about Birch Bay, but in various places can get changed. Maybe a water or sewer purveyor plan for this area and it got changed to a different area, and then they have to expend more funds. And so they've made that decision. We've reached out to the fire district, and they have not moved forward with updating their plan as far as we know. And that was in the Ferndale case. They didn't have a fire or a sewer plan adopted. So, it's just a matter of what degree of risk the county wants to take. I think there's a lot of merits to that project, but on the other hand, there are some risks financially to the county.
Well, I wonder why you're even talking about risk on this very small item when our entire chapter 2 seems to be out of compliance with the vehicle miles traveled, the requirements of the Growth Management Act.
Point of order, it's not germane. I don't disagree with you.
Okay,
it's not germane. So
I'll withdraw the comment then. Thank you.
Commissioner Dunn.
Just a question for Julie, if you don't mind. So with your land, I think affordable housing, great, you were thinking 200, 300 units?
Yes.
Sort of somewhere in that range. I think there's a difference between us talking about like, I have a plan for doing it, I'd like to do it, versus having something solid like a covenant or something on title or something that says, I guarantee I will sell every house on this land for X price that is affordable, whatever, and if I don't, then here's a bond, or you take my land, whatever it is. Okay, sure, yeah. So, yeah, Bill, could you talk about your client's willingness to put a covenant on the land or have some kind of guarantees so that we know if we do bring this in, it's not just bringing it like, oh, just kidding, and in 5 years you're building mansions.
Right, be glad to speak to that. For the record, Bill Geyer for Julie Carney. I've been through a number of affordable housing projects, both in my public service and my consulting practice over the past 40 years, and you are absolutely correct. Eventually, when you get to development permit application and review, you do place a covenant on the property so that the tenants or owners that are in that development meet income criteria, and it's in perpetuity on that property. In Bellingham, you have anywhere from a 20 to a 50-year commitment on that covenant. What Ms. Carney is saying is because of how you now develop in this current market, affordable housing, you need to place a covenant to the property so the financial tools, that is the lending and the equity that flows to it, is sufficient for the rental stream that thing can come about. So your decision today, which we requested in my letter, is the beginning to that. You first need to be in the UGA. And quite frankly, I must comment on Matt's comment. He's missing several points when he talks about capital facilities. I provided to you the cover sheet to the actual capital facility engineering drawings, not an aspirational plan, drawings for the size of pipes to service this property at the density that we've discussed. 98% approved by Birch Bay Water and Sewer District. Ms. Carney spent $100,000 to produce those drawings. She also paid the Water and Sewer District $40,000 to review those plans. So there is significant investment. I entirely dispute his claim about lacking of capital facilities. Totally false. County engineers and planning have identified Lincoln as an arterial since, I believe, 1997 to be built. It's been on the transportation improvement program. It's in your current comp plan that's recommended to you that you're looking at. Capital facilities are not an issue. If the planning department needs to have a write-up to that, then that covers their capacity to give you support in your decision, I am glad to offer that for you. But the information is there, the facilities are there, the planning is there. The question is, do we as taxpayers, residents of Whatcom County, have the fortitude to say, yes, we're going to step forward and do everything we can, as Commissioner Grieve said, to see that an affordable housing project can be built. Right now, it's in the balance with your decision today. We really hope that you take the proper decision. Thank you.
And sorry, just a quick follow-up question, Bill. So what you're saying is if we said yes on this one today, and if the deal was, we'll say yes, but we need to, like, with the condition that you will put a covenant on this land for affordable housing and whatever that means.
Correct.
Would that be acceptable
Yes.
for you?
Yes, great. And we would say the same at the county council. Perfect. Thank you.
I think the representative from Birch Bay Water and Sewer had their hand up and then went down. I'd be curious if they had a comment on the plans that have been submitted and reviewed and just the feasibility of serving this lot.
Go ahead.
Sandy McMillan.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, commissioners. In the packet that we had given to you is our analysis, our engineering analysis and summary of that area. I will comment that prior development extension agreements with the district were under a different premise. And so these are new plans to us. It would involve a new developer extension. And on the fourth page, the final page of that engineering memo dated September 5th of 2025, it indicates a magnitude of scale with Lincoln Road compared to the other two property owners' UGA expansion docketed items of Kaluna Properties and then for the UGA reserve. So on Lincoln Road, the approximate capital infrastructure would be $633,000. So that information is there for you. I would also say that the district has a responsibility to its current ratepayers of not allowing any speculation on development. You know, it's encouraging to hear a covenant or something of that scale, but there are all kinds of things that happen with development over the years. The district has a long history of not speculating on growth. And we have a great worry of having stranded costs if you remove some area out of the UGA and you switch it with this Lincoln Road property. And I'll defer to Matt for anything else.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so our only point with capital facility planning, I don't dispute or doubt that the property owner has done a lot of work out there. But the growth board cases talk about having an adopted capital facilities plan that covers the entire planning period, which goes through 2045. That's what I'm saying. And the fire district, their plan also was adopted in 2016, hasn't been updated, 2016 or 2015. And so their plan also does not extend through 2045. So that was my comment.
Commissioner Brian.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to wrap my head around is that I think earlier you said that the updated plans haven't happened yet. And if we don't add it to the UGA, they won't plan for it. So if we're interested in saying, great, we have somebody who's willing to do affordable housing, which is not easy or, frequent to come by. And if this wasn't affordable housing, I wouldn't be interested. It's not, the location's not ideal in my mind to be right next to, other development. It's a little bit isolated, but not to a crazy extent. But being affordable housing and covenanted affordable housing is so hard to create and so hard to find someone willing to do it that, like, again, I think we should be doing everything we can. And I don't understand if the plans are gonna happen early next year, and they're gonna be based on the UGA, like, it feels like if we don't include it in the UGA now, it's just basically saying, cool, well, now we're not gonna plan for it and it's done forever, like. Just tell me like where I'm wrong there, I'm happy to be wrong, but like.
They
what am I
have
missing?
to be, they have to be commensurate. They have to occur at the same time, right? You have to have the plan in place.
Mhm.
Here's where we're gonna expand. Show me how you're gonna provide the sewer utilities, the water, the roads, the police, the fire protection for the next 20 years at the same time. You can't say the UGA is, oh, we'll do the plan to provide the facilities later.
Are we voting on those this month? Cause we're voting on the entire comprehensive plan this month
No,
or early next month.
the water and sewer district does their own plans.
Yeah.
Those are the capital facility plan. You don't approve those.
Okay.
We ask that they have them and we document and we adopt them by reference in our comp plan. Although we can't do that because they're not done, right? For the
Okay.
fire district and for the water and sewer district.
And everything else we've discussed, all the things we've added or removed from the UGAs, they've just already had those planned for, or like, that's like.
The cities are providing those
They're
utilities.
doing that in the
They
back.
do their own.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, one piece of information, the map that you have, which is from Birch Bay Water and Sewer District, and if you look at where I've identified where 4610 Lincoln is located, you'll notice that there's a green area to the south of it and a green area to the north of it. Those are both areas served by Birch Bay Water and Sewer District sewer. To the south is undeveloped land. The only way that that undeveloped land can have sewer service to meet the density requirements that the county is zoning it for in this UGA is that sewer line must come through and adjacent Ms. Carney's property. Birch Bay Water and Sewer District knows that. The county staff knows that in great detail, because Amy Keenan has looked at this project for the past 9 years, and there is a history here. And I want to point out to you that if you want the development capacity in your UGA to occur, you must take into consideration the existing sewer lines and how those sewer connections can occur. I totally disagree with Mr. Emmett's statement of lack of capital facilities plan. That can be written, that can be presented, that can be part of the findings, that can be part of the conditions.
So we can't speak for the district. The district does
You can
the
speak for
sewer.
capital
Excuse me,
facilities
but
plans for the area.
why don't we tell the whole story, right? So
Let's go.
let's tell the story.
Tell it. Go, Mark.
Back in, was it 09? The council adopted oversized UGA for Birch Bay. Way oversized, did not have adopted capital facility plans to support that level of growth. We got appealed and we lost. In the intervening 60 days, Ms. Carney applied for a subdivision permit, and so did, I believe, Mr. Montgomery did
Excuse
too.
me, incorrect.
Right.
We applied prior to that occurrence.
So
That's
they
a false
vested,
statement.
right? And for how many years they had a legal right to propose to develop something out there. And she did, this assisted living facility, but there are time limits on vested development applications. And she didn't meet the time requirements and timed out. Subsequently sued the county, long story. We won. And she would like to develop it again. And it's perfectly appropriate to develop it. It's a matter of timing, right? You've got to have the capital facility plans in place to support that development. Otherwise, it's going to be Groundhog's Day. We're going to get appealed again and we're going to lose. So why do that?
But let's tell the whole
I would
story,
suggest
Mark.
that,
You missed the
I
point.
would suggest that
The assisted
Ms.
living
Carney and
facility,
Bill
you
work
opposed it,
with the district.
and by a court order, the court ordered the county to issue the conditional use permit for the assisted living facility, correct?
Bill,
Correct?
water under the bridge.
No, it's to point out,
Project is.
no, it's to point out that the capacities on the utilities are known. That's my point here tonight. And so as we go forward, can we have an can we have an affordable housing location? And those policy questions that you need to make in the council is the first.
Can I ask a question? Okay, and if we need to have, for this to go forward, the Birch Bay Water and Sewer people have to include it in their
And the fire district.
and the fire district. But I thought I heard the sewer district person said they didn't plan on speculative development.
Right.
So how would they plan for this potential development if they would consider it speculative? And so it sounds like it's kind of like they aren't gonna plan to have capital facilities because there's no development there and we can't tell them there might be development there.
That's for the property owner and the developer and the sewer and water provider and the fire district. That's what they need to work on and work out with them.
Okay.
Or they come back and ask for
Okay.
UGA expansion, right? You gotta have those. All those pieces need to be in place. That's all I'm saying. Otherwise, the risk is totally on us.
Director Bersonius, so the question I have is, if they go and jump through those hoops, if they come back to the planning department and ask to amend the comp plan, is that something that the county is willing to do?
Well, that's, of course they can do, they can always do that. Right? They can always do that. They just gotta have all the pieces in place.
We don't say duck, the animal we after it.
Just a question for Sandy with the Birch Bay sewer, if you're still on there. Somewhere. So I heard the words you used and I don't think I totally understood them. And I know that part of your job is to be neutral in this. I get it. I respect that. In your perspective, I guess, does the sewer district, there's a way to ask if you support this project or not, but like, does your planning support, I'll just that way. Does your current planning support, providing sewer services for this project, knowing that eventually you might need to provide sewer services through this project to get to properties on the other side of it?
Sandy.
This is Sandy McMillan, Birch Bay Water and Sewer District. Our planning right now is only for our service area, only for our UGA. When Matt and I've got to say, we have a very good working relationship with planning and development. And when Matt gets closer and Planning Commission and County Council gets closer to making their decisions, we've been engineering as much of this as we can, trying to stay in step with some of your thoughts. And we have spent considerable money from our current ratepayers on dealing with things. So although we have a posture of neutrality on annexation and incorporation, it's really difficult to continue spending our current ratepayers' money on addressing what may or may not come into the future. And yes, everybody here on this meeting understands that that's the planning that needs to occur. Hopefully it's done within reason. We've given you an engineering analysis that describes the Lincoln Road property. It's on page 2 of that memo dated September 5th, so you can understand a little bit more about the property itself. The developer's extension that he had filed with us was under a different type of facility. So we would have to engage, or he would need to engage with us again. On the final page of that engineering memo, it shows the magnitude of cost compared to the other UGA expansions. But again, and I don't mean to be out of order, but it's worrisome to hear the idea of de-annexing a part of Birch Bay UGA to accomplish this, although everyone on this meeting also wants to prioritize affordable housing. I know you guys have a big charge.
Go ahead.
Sandy, I don't think we're talking about de-annexing any part of Birch Bay. I think we're talking about like leaving the Birch Bay UGA as it is and then adding a small parcel. Is that your understanding? Or is there something, did somebody tell you we're gonna remove part of the UGA and add to?
It might ask because of the concern around land capacity, whether or not doing that would help with the legal defensibility.
Oh, so like small over here, bigger over there.
Right, the answer seemed to be no, in
No.
which case, like, that's not my preference of
Okay,
how we
great.
address this.
Okay,
But it was a question because I was trying to understand, A, what was the backstory? I feel like I have more of it now. I knew there was something, just had to dig a while to get to it. And then just like, what is the actual order of operations if we want this project to happen, if the developer is sincere, and they want this project to happen, like, how does it actually come about? And I still don't feel like I'm totally getting it, but I feel like I'm getting closer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Sandy, could you walk us through from your perspective, or from the sewer district's perspective, what it would take to get sewer to this project? Like, what's the paperwork? What's the money? What's the time frame? Can we just kind of do it overnight? Is it gonna take a while?
We're going.
You might have to let her speak.
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Sandy, you wanna try talking?
Can you hear me?
Now I can, yep, go.
Oh, okay. I unfortunately, I am not aware of that process. This is my first time through the comprehensive plan. 10 years ago, I was their finance director, so I saw it from a different perspective. My understanding is whatever planning commission and county council come up with for the Birch Bay UGA, our district has to be prepared to service that, and that's why we've been spending so much time and effort on engineering the different thought processes that you may have. The three parcels requests is kind of a surprise to me because I was thinking more so that because of the GMA rules that this wouldn't have progressed to this level of conversation right now. So I would want some time to go back to our engineer, legal counsel, and kind of sketch out something and come back to another planning commission meeting.
Commissioner Dunn.
So just to paraphrase that sounds like a very gentle, like, no, and you'd like some time to process it and come back to another time before we said yes to this project. Is that what you're saying?
Unless Matt has another idea for me right now.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so I just want to make clear, we're in a planning process here, a comprehensive planning process, and not really project review. And I think they're a bit different. So under GMA, I guess what, my understanding of what the growth board looks for is an adopted 20-year capital facilities plan for water, sewer, for fire, for other things. So I guess that's what we would be looking for is those adopted district plans through the planning period of 2045 that would, include properties that they intend to serve. So just wanted to kind of make that bit of a distinction.
Commissioner McCarron.
Dan, if I can try, I think why it's confusing. So there was no plan to expand the UGA. So they evaluated how much growth we needed, what the capacity was, and with the existing water systems or any expansions within the UGA, could that be accommodated? None of the places were really accounting for that expansion. So I think that's why there's not a plan for it. If they had done the analysis that, oh, we're not gonna be able to meet our capacity in here, they'd be saying, where can we expand? And Birch Bay Water and Sewer, which one of these are the most feasible for you?
Right.
So they haven't done that planning. Next time around, if there's not enough capacity in here, there'll be discussions with them ahead of time to say, okay, how can we expand the UGA best? Maybe it is that Lincoln Road property, maybe it's to somewhere else. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, that's why we have a land capacity analysis and a population and employment allocation, right? You do the analysis and figure out, do we have capacity to accommodate that 20 years worth of growth without expanding the UGA? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then we expand. If the answer is yes, we don't need to expand, right? That's the process.
I updated, I sent you guys out a spreadsheet, I think earlier today with all the numbers of like the current UGAs and capacity, whatever. There certainly is some debate about whether the numbers are accurate, what we're actually doing over 20 years, but Birch Bay, it looks like from 0 to 80%, the current need is 702, and what Matt said, or their land capacity analysis was that the capacity was 721, so that's very close, but like, in terms of what the state needs, that's the number that they're looking for. So we exceed that number. The 80 to 120%, housing needs are 136, capacity UGA is 425, 120 plus, housing needs are 213, capacity is 1,211, so we're well over on the more expensive housing. And total housing needs in the Birch Bay UGA, we got a surplus of 1,306. Again, most of that in the 120 plus. So this project would really help out in the lowest income side of things, 0 to 80. But again, in there we have the slimmest of surplus. But we're like, I think if what the hearing board said, hey, these are the numbers, I think they look at that and say, yeah, you technically have a surplus, so you're meeting the HAPT goal there.
Commissioner Bright. I guess trying to decide what I want to do in this meeting, and if I want to make a motion or not, but like, when you see a surplus of 1,000 units for 120 plus, and for 300 units for 80 to 120, and 19 for 0 to 80, and that's where the most need is by a factor of 3x with the other two combined, I think we all know around this table that we will not actually have a surplus of 19. We will 100% not meet that amount of 0 to 80 housing. We never do. Doesn't work that way. Like, that's just not what ends up getting built. Things change on the ground, and like, we just don't get there. And so, because very few of whatever the 721 in theory is going to be covenanted affordable. It's just market rate that we think is going to be aged enough or whatever. Like, I mean, unless I'm wrong, unless someone knows that there's 721 units of proposed affordable covenanted housing in the Birch Bay area, it's not going to happen. So that's why I'm so frustrated and trying to figure out, like, and not feeling like I'm getting clear answers on how a project like this can move forward. Now, the fact that they've attempted something before and sued the county is not comforting. Yeah. And I definitely do not want to do anything that jeopardizes the comp plan itself or the overall process. So I may not move this today, but I'm also not feeling comforted that it feels like all the powers that be that manage the planning process are working hard to figure out, can we do this or not? Because if it's real, it should be a top priority to achieve.
Yes, I think to follow on that, I think it's questions like how do we get to yes, right? So we got a client who has property and wants to build something that's affordable. That's awesome. That's a yes right there. We need sewer, potable water, power, and then a lot today about infrastructure, about roads, right? You can put 300 units out on Lincoln Road, right? There's a train crossing to the north that's a disaster twice a day. And then if you go to the south, right, get back the freeway that way, there's a couple intersections there that are like awful as well. I think that was one of the big debates about Birch Point, was like the reason people didn't like stuff there. It's like, look, you gotta drive, like, how do you get out of town? You work in Blaine, work wherever, like, there's all this infrastructure upgrades, primarily in transportation, but also in stormwater that you gotta do. I think it sounds like stormwater is less of a problem for this one, so they probably figured out. But if we're getting yes, I'd ask the sewer district and big, how do we get you to yes? And I think what Sandy said was she needs a little time to think about it and make a plan. I think for potable water, that's Birch Bay gets the water from Blaine, so that would be Sandy as well. And I think that'd be the same process, probably looking for a little bit of time. And then for power, that's gonna be a PSE thing and they take forever. But the roads thing is still the thing we haven't talked about, that look, okay, how do we get to yes on roads? How do we make sure we're not adding, if we're adding 300 households there, maybe that's 600 people, I don't know, like, the roads are gonna be worse than how they are now. Maybe that's not a reason to deny a really good project. But I don't know, Mark, so when you talk about the transportation plan, were you saying that we have a transportation plan that's being developed, but that does not include this project? So if we're gonna include the project, we need to kind of adjust that plan?
That would need to be, looked at in the capital facilities plan.
Yeah.
One option for you commissioners is, right, Matt's told you the cities and the county staffs have agreed to pull all of the urban reserve proposals. Right, and look at those individually in the next year or in 26 and 27. So that may be an option here, is to recommend that this area be looked at as a potential urban reserve designation in the next 2 years, which would then sort of signal to the capital facility providers and the urban service providers, sewer district, the fire district, our public works folks and transportation to look at, okay, do we have capital facilities plans in place that would be able to accommodate and take care of that growth if this area were to develop in the next 20 years, enough to get us to then a UGA designation subsequent to that.
Okay, that being said, we've diverged. We got a main path here and we got a side path that we're all supporting, so we get that. Can we make a motion to go to that urban reserve area? Separate that, so we know that we're sending a signal, okay, here's something that's good, we're supporting. And then get back to moving this on as we're in December, and I know I'm kind of being the guy that keeps trying to shove this thing down the tracks.
Me too.
You know, that's my so I guess that's more of a question than anything.
I think we got a yes over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would that be something along the lines, would you be recommending that? Or I just like to ask Mark, are you saying that we should recommend now that we move this into a UGR? Or say, hey, let's recommend that we put on the work plan, so next year, when the county reconsiders UGARs, this is part of that work?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
Second
I can make a motion for that. I don't know how to word it exactly. If you could help me word that.
I think we have to deal with the first motion and then make a new motion.
Do we have any motion?
We don't have any motions on the table. I would be the first motion.
No one asked no one moved that we adopt. Okay.
Nope, nope. So I think if I take care of that, or at least make a motion to take care of this, we can get that taken care of.
Yeah.
Move down the road that. How can we word that, Mark?
You would recommend, recommend the approved staff's proposal, right? With an amendment that you would recommend that the staff, the council and staff, analyze 4610 Lincoln Road proposal as potential designation as an urban growth area reserve
Okay.
in the subsequent.
And I have a quick question, remember correctly, the Birch Bay Advisory Committee submitted a public comment where they had two other properties as well, that were, I think, also on Lincoln Road?
No, they were down in the south.
Oh, they're in the
southeast.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if we're saying, hey,
Yeah.
look at these properties. Do you wanna just limit your wish to this one property, we'll talk about the other properties later, or do you wanna incorporate other properties?
You could do that too.
So,
All in one.
make a motion.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're working
Oh,
on. We're trying to get the wording correct, and I'm not just gonna say
I'm gonna
anything.
recommend that you leave them separate, put this as a motion all by itself.
That's my thought.
Yeah, separate.
I will second that. Okay. Were you able to get that typed down, Eileen, by chance?
So are you separating what Mark just said, or?
The motion is what Mark just said.
Yeah, what Mark just
What
said.
Mark said. So you're moving the
You and Mark
entire
can discuss
thing
it later.
with the recommendation of evaluating the Lincoln Street property as
Correct.
future UGA.
That's my motion.
Friendly amendment.
What's that?
Friendly amendment.
Okay,
Would you want to add the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committees?
actually, that would save a lot of time, because
Right.
we would just be discussing the same kind of things
Right,
all
right.
over again, so we really don't need to do that. If we added those to it,
Right.
we would solve that problem as well.
And by considering it, we're not saying they will be, we're just saying, think about it.
That's
Right,
right, that's exactly right. So, yes, I
It
would,
directs us.
I would take that friendly amendment,
It directs us, staff, next year to when we sit
absolutely,
down with the cities and talk about urban growth area reserves and the implications of those, that
just makes
that would
sense.
be on our radar for Birch Bay.
Yeah. Okay,
And can I just throw,
I was gonna say, if we need a pause, so Eileen can type this out.
Yes, please.
can I just read in the record those addresses, but I got their public comment here. This is
yes,
from
because you'll need that.
I'll talk
Good
soon.
for you.
Appreciate it.
So this is from the Birch Bay Community Advisory Committee from memo dated November 25th, 2025. Subject to recommendations.
Just the address.
Okay, well, I was talking slowly, let's give her time, write stuff down.
I'm just waiting.
All right, I'll second. 4464 Arnie Road. 4486 Arnie Road, then the 4610 Lincoln Road. Again, for consideration, not for designation, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of the motion. We got a lot of letters from Birch Bay specifically, how Lincoln Street was this hard line not to pass when Blaine was trying to come across it. And so then to have that get pulled back and then propose having Birch Bay go over the line.
We're just
No, I know.
putting this to the
I
county. We're not
understand.
making any decision.
I
to do
understand,
that.
and I'm not in favor of recommending that they look at going across that line after all the feedback we got. I feel like there's a lot of other areas that I would evaluate before that.
Commissioner Hampton.
I have a question on how adding this to the urban growth area how I can see how it addresses population level and income level, but I'm wondering how it addresses the relationships of jobs with people at that income level and the vehicle miles traveled. Are we expecting that the lower income status people in these housing units would then provide services to people with higher incomes in Birch Bay? Or would they have to go to Bellingham to find jobs and therefore throwing our vehicle mile quotient further out of whack?
About Blaine's light industrial area that we.
Oh, Blaine, that Blaine's closer, yeah.
It's just right there.
There you go. Thank you. That's good. I forgot about Blaine.
I have a question here, and so there's the Lincoln Road address. Where are the other two addresses at?
Are they on Ernie Road?
I think they're these ones that were removed from consideration.
And I think they
That-
already have sewer.
That's correct. Dan, you're talking about the ones that are Xed out on this map?
The addresses from the advisory committee, sorry, pull it up again, were on Arnie Road, and there, it sounds like there are specific addresses, not like the UGA study area.
So these are the Arnie Road ones here, which are already in the urban growth area reserve. So a motion to consider putting them in the UGA reserve really would have no effect because they're already in there.
Oh, good call, Matt.
This is the church property, which is not adjacent to the UGA. So our proposal originally was to put this area in the UGA reserve, a larger area,
Project say parcels.
and this area also.
And Matt, so when we're thinking about like, if we're gonna send you a message to be like, hey, in the future, we want you to consider these UGARs. Currently, it sounds like you were considering the area to the south there, it says rural to UGA reserve. Were you considering that rectangle with the smaller rectangle of churches, or were you considering excluding the church?
Well, originally we had this area without the church. We didn't go across the road. And then the advisory committee wrote a letter and saying, hey, we'd like you to consider adding this, the church property. So we did that. And then the cities brought up, or a city brought up, hey, let's put off these UGA reserve discussions until 2026, 27. We've got enough to deal with here. So everybody agreed, the county and the cities all agreed to that. So my anticipation would be like this area, although there was opposition, I believe it was in this area. This area could be considered. I mean, the county would probably have to, rethink this and, maybe have some discussions. This area would be considered. And if you move, the area north of Lincoln Road.
Where is the property, the Lincoln Road property?
Okay, so it's multiple parcels. So I just had one, but it's basically right here. Oops, right there.
Okay. Commissioner Dunn.
So I think, we have a motion. I don't think we have a second right now, but just, I think you already got, okay. So was the motion to, consider the UGARs for those three properties I mentioned?
That was what the motion said, but read the whole motion, so, cause even I'm getting confused now, I'll be honest.
Oh, no.
Commissioner Van Dalen moved to recommend the Birch Bay UJ proposal with a recommendation to have staff and council consider the 4464 Arnie Road, 4466 Arnie Road, and 4610 Lincoln Road parcels as part of the UJ reserve discussions with the city staff in 2026.
That's correct.
Okay, sounds good. And I think what Matt brought up, which is, I think is accurate, was that those last two addresses on Arnie Road are already in UGAR.
Yeah.
So
It was a moot point, but
Yeah, okay. Do we want to remove those addresses or just leave them?
I just leave them.
Just leave them at this point, all right? Great.
That's right.
Sounds good, easy enough. Perfect. Okay, so keep the motion, we got
I'm
a
just
second.
trying to move the train.
Easy victories.
So we have,
We got a motion, we got a second discussion.
and did Eileen read it back to us? I was
Yes,
looking at
yes.
the map and,
Yeah.
okay, is there any further discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Hanson,
Aye.
Mosseri,
No.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Greif,
Yes.
Barton,
Abstain.
it passes.
I almost went your way. Okay.
We're moving along. So we're on chapter 2 now?
No.
Yes, we're on chapter 2, right?
No, we're just-
Technically, the motion was to recommend. No, we just.
No, that was the whole thing.
That was the whole thing.
That was,
Yeah.
was it really?
It really was.
What?
It was rolled in
Too
together.
late, you already voted.
Yes, you did. And to be fair, you were on the yes side. So
It was-
you can always, you can always maybe
Have some other
reconsider.
questions, but, that was the.
Do you have other motions or just questions?
It's voted on.
Point of order.
It's done, sorry, it's done.
Point of order, let's,
Motion to
wait a minute.
reconsider.
Comprehensive Plan Chapter 2, work session with Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, for the record, my name is Matt Ahmet, representing Planning and Development. And so tonight, the Planning Commission will hold a work session on Comp Plan Chapter 2, which is land use. And then a public hearing would be held on December 16th. So existing Chapter 2 includes a number of topics, including urban growth areas, rural areas, open space, essential public facilities, historic and cultural resources, and a number of others. So in order to address the requirements of House Bill 1181, the county proposes to add a number of things to Chapter 2. The first one is Goal 2J revisions and new policies to address environmental justice. And then there would be a new goal, associated policies and maps relating to green spaces. And then there would be a new goal, associated policies and map relating to urban and community forests, and a new goal and policies relating to vehicle miles traveled per capita, and then a new goal and policies relating to wildfire. And then there's other draft modifications in Chapter 2, and those include, but are not limited to, updating the GMA requirements and background information, updating the UGA section, including goals, policies, and maps, and we worked with the cities on those. Updating the rural section, including changes to the GMA relating to limited areas of more intensive rural development, or LAMRDs, and those kind of relate to allowing increased building size for retail and food services in LAMRDs. Updating the urban growth area reserve section, and then also the essential public facility section to address GMA requirements. So I would like to, we have two corrections. I got too many documents up here. Let me see if I can find the. Okay, I'm just going to close out some things. Here it is. Okay, two corrections on the community, urban community forests, page 2-14. I'm going to share the screen here in a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry, 114. So in House Bill 1181, it made changes and requirements for different chapters of the comp plan. So it had changes for the land use element, you know, and then it had a requirement for a new climate element, transportation element, and it had different things in each of those sections. So in the land use element, House Bill 1181 said we need to designate urban and community forests, except the GMA did not include a definition of urban and community forests. And so we have maps in the back of the document that are in your packet, but we also as we were discussing this, what this is, there is a definition in another RCW that's unrelated to GMA that had this public or private lands. But as we got discussing this, the GMA does not define, at least at this point, what the implications of designating urban and community forest is. In UGAs, you're supposed to encourage urban growth and development, and the GMA only uses that term one time. It doesn't say that we need to put development restrictions on. It doesn't say anything about it. It just says designated. So at this point, we were kind of taking a conservative approach, and this is the criteria we used. Designate urban and community forest on public lands greater than 5 acres and over 75% tree canopy, which came from this other program. But we wanted to amend the staff proposal to take this out, public or private, because at this time, we're just recommending that those be designated on public lands. So we will do that in the version you have for the public hearing, unless you tell us differently tonight. And then the other change.
Can I ask a question on that first, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk.
Yeah, because you addressed one of my questions of the public side or the private side of it. But again, we don't know what happens if we designate something that, like, there could be forested land someplace that a city or somebody's planning to use for a school or something that's forested right now. And then you designate it and no longer they can build the school? Like, what is?
Well, right now they could build a school because there's no regulation. I mean, the GMA just says designate these. It doesn't say what to do after we designate them.
Well, I know, that's my concern though.
So there's
once you designate it though, and then we find out what they want us to do with it, we could be having unintended consequences.
Yeah, I don't know if the legislature intends to come back later and, say you have to do X, Y, or Z with these things. I don't know.
I would just add that, yeah, I remember I think it was the Parks and Rec element where we had the tree canopy maps in the UGAs. That was the requirement out of the bill. It was just map them.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, because so if you read between the lines, and what the legislature does is they'll kind of do things incrementally. They may come back in the future and say, okay, now that we've got these designated, now you got to protect them or whatever.
Well, but it says map them and designate them. It didn't say we had to do the 5 acres to 75, with 75% tree canopy. So I'm just wondering if we really want to put that language in there before we know what the consequence of it is.
Well, we need to designate, I mean, it's a requirement to designate these areas. There's no definition in the GMA, so we have to essentially come up with a definition. The original thought was, looking at private and public lands, but when we got thinking about that, it's like, oh, you know what, we don't, these lands and urban growth areas are generally, I mean, there is open space and various things, but generally we're trying to encourage urban growth in these areas. So we thought we were kind of taking a conservative approach of just saying public lands for now. And then.
Yeah, can I just say it? I get that comment. I could do a different framework though. Instead of saying we're going to use this criteria, it could be some kind of forested land that's already in a conservation easement or some kind of thing associated with it. We know it's not going to get developed then, right? So there's no risk of messing up future plans with we don't know what the consequences are of it.
This was a part of required by House Bill 1181, which is the climate change bill, right? So in retaining tree canopy, increasing tree canopy, especially in urban growth areas, where you've got a lot of impervious surface and you get the heat island effect of that's kind of where this is going, right? That's kind of the intent. That's why it only applies in UGAs. We don't have a lot of conservation easements in UGAs. We have a lot of them in rural areas and in forest lands, but not in UGAs. So,
well, there's community forests. So there's protected lands in cities and areas.
Yeah, right.
So,
but that's where, like, if it's a park, public, it's a park. So that's why we, I think 5 acres was like, let's get something that's significant, not just little tiny pieces that still have tree canopy.
Yeah, I don't know when we make motions, but it seems like a mistake to go beyond what we have to now, not knowing what the consequences is.
I'm your motion, yeah.
Well, I just don't know if we're in the phase of doing that. We haven't had a public hearing or anything yet. I know we're doing,
We're
usually
just
we
working on.
usually we do a public hearing before in the beginning, and so then after that, I've always felt comfortable with it. I'm not sure if we want to do that yet.
We do have Lauren,
We're just in a work session.
There's no public hearing on the docket for today, so I wasn't sure we were ready to do that.
we do have Lauren
It's more-
Clemens, our climate manager here also.
Here we go.
Yeah, I was maybe just gonna address the benefit of being specific in this section. So I think we got some comments about using this particular Forest Service definition. We have active management plans on some public properties. So by using this definition, which is consistent with how RCO provides funding or the Forest Service, it helps provide eligibility for public properties. So the definition that was used in this instance as it relates to community forests would be consistent with some forest management plans that we have currently. The city of Bellingham decided to map public ownership of 1 acre. So like Matt noted, this is a little bit unsettled in terms of the definition. We're still in the intermediate guidance phase, but the benefit of using this particular definition would be to provide a consistent definition with how funding is allocated for this type of forest management.
Right, Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, and maybe having this be that definition part of it, but I would just say maybe thinking of some other qualifier that is part of the initiating, not just that it's this, but also that it has some kind of management plan or some kind of other, easement on it or some kind of, something else that's writing with it other than just any 5 acres, 75% over that's owned by public, It just, I don't know why we would make it so much broader than we need to.
Yeah.
If you.
And part of this might be getting information too. I don't know that we have information on every parcel that's got a covenant on it. So, that might take a title search to do an exhaustive search and, we don't really have the funds for that or.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dunn.
How are you going to designate, if it's just, if you're not doing a title search parcel, you're just gonna like look at a map and be like, that looks green, that's all public land, that's designated forest?
No, this is all GIS analysis, they can screen for
It's all desktop.
parcels 5 acres and larger and
Looking at tree
canopy,
canopy.
stuff like that.
And the ownership parcel on top of canopy.
And we don't have covenants in GIS?
Not exhaustive. I think we have some land trust covenants and things like that, but
Yeah.
I don't think we have an exhaustive, database of that.
So Matt, what do you need from us tonight?
Oh, I just want to let you know, I'm gonna take out public and private in that text unless you have objection, and so your public hearing version won't have that public and private. That want me to put that up one more time?
Does everybody have what he's taking on? That's okay, Matt.
Okay, so yeah, just in the public hearing one, I would take this out as a staff proposal. And then you can do, you can do what you want with it after that. Okay, second change. And this was more of just the city of Bellingham indicated this map didn't reflect their proposal. So we just didn't get the correct map in. So this little chunk here by
What
Larson.
page was that?
Let's see here. I think I've got that.
Maps are at the end.
Would be further.
No, they're kind of.
That was on page 2-31.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've already made preliminary recommendations, including this little area in here in the Bellingham UGA. We just inserted the incorrect map, and I just wanted to alert you to that we'll insert the correct map in the public hearing version. So.
Yeah, all right.
Elton?
Go ahead.
So yeah, I wasn't sure if these maps were supposed to be the current ones or if they hadn't been updated, because I did have a question on one of the other maps, if it was accurate or not.
There should be reflecting planning commission.
Okay, on 2-56.
Okay, let me bring that up here.
Two maps.
2-56, okay.
Whoa, always. That is
That's
3 and 4 removed.
It has those two lower ones, because when I looked at it, I couldn't tell if it had the two lower
Yeah,
ones removed there,
Yeah.
the two southern ones.
Yeah, that's where 3 and 4
Okay,
were.
that was just.
They were right below the
Just wanted to
dark
confirm,
spot, yeah.
'cause I couldn't tell with,
Yeah.
with the lines all of it.
So those two corrections would be made in the version that we'd have in your packet for the public hearing. And so we just also wanted to note, that any planning commission motions, at least this evening, should be in the form of support changing the language as follows rather than accept or approve, since we haven't had the public hearing and, you're not making any final decisions this evening. So that would conclude our staff report.
Lauren, thanks for getting through, Blaine and Birch Bay, still being here. Could you give us your perspective on the vehicle miles traveled thing? I read public comment and all the back and forth between you and the Whatcom, Environmental Council. Could you just sort of like summarize your conversations? I mean, I think their main concern is that, essentially by allowing people to live outside of cities, then we're making more people drive more in their cars, and that's against the Growth Management Act. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think we've talked about this some, and I do want to note that you should think about each city's proposal and updates that they've made to it in terms of how zoning changes will reflect potential reductions in vehicle miles traveled. From the conversation today, it appears to be that Bellingham is the only jurisdiction subject to the greenhouse gas reduction sub-element requirements that is proposing a UGA expansion. So I think a lot of the concerns about regional trips are demonstrated by that the jurisdictions plan on accommodating their growth within their existing city limits and UGAs, and we have reduced the allocation between rural areas to try to promote more growth in cities and UGAs. I don't know, like from a technical basis, how detailed you want to get, but I will note, like in the environmental impact statement, it was a forecast and then identified a set of mitigation measures that could be effective in reducing that total. And some of those were things like trying to accommodate increased densities, plan for housing next to employment. And so that's been a lot of the conversations that you've been having with each city about how the relationship between transportation and land use. The forecast doesn't represent like the same degree of detail as like every single zoning change that ended up in the final proposals was not modeled. So I would say that the like final land use proposals are probably a lower VMT total, but we didn't go and rerun the transportation demand model to reflect every single final UGA proposal. So I think that the broader comment was, the land use chapter is not compliant because there's an increase in VMT, but you saw each city represent a lot of mitigation measures that will have resulting VMT impacts, and things like increased transit service within Bellingham has an impact on the regional total as well. So the implication that we can't support any rural growth because it all needs to be directed towards the city is also not consistent with the GMA, which says we need to plan for some growth in the rural area. We have reduced that allocation so that there's a higher percentage going towards cities. But if you have other questions about that, I will say this is a new area for like the VMT modeling was not accounting for this particular requirement prior to this. So the legislature has been working with each regional transportation planning organization to try to improve the forecasting ability, but it is still like a guess of how land use and future decisions will impact travel behavior. So we'll have to continue to work with each jurisdiction to monitor how much these particular zoning and land use maps will result in changes in trip distance and frequency over time.
Go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Oh, go ahead.
So I've been talking a lot today. You're
Well,
up. You're up to
I
bat.
guess I would kind of like to see what the analysis is of VMT with the proposed changes, because I'm not really very comfortable with saying, all the detached dwelling, accessory dwellings in, the Lamberts, the changes of the zonings in Columbia Valley to allow greater density in that area. Greater densities in, like Birch, or additional population in Birch Bay. It's hard for me to see how those growths of population in more remote areas have been compensated by greater transportation infrastructure in other parts of the county. I mean, maybe that's just rhetoric, but I mean, I kind of would like to see that analysis of the revised plan.
When you're referring to like greater transportation infrastructure, what do you have in mind when you say that?
More people taking buses, more people riding bicycles, more people walking to and from their jobs. Those are things that would mitigate some of the additional transportation miles for people who are unable to do so.
I mean, that was part of my response to David, was that that's going to be a very effective mitigation measure in an urban setting. So if you have a bus expansion in Bellingham, you're going to reduce proportional emissions much more than if you had transit expansion to Columbia Valley. But that's why we're trying to measure both transportation emissions and VMT, because you could have less carbon intensive transportation and still be traveling the same amount of miles. So if you had, electric vehicles, or you had vehicles that were less carbon intensive, that could end up being more efficient from an emissions perspective than putting additional bike infrastructure somewhere that it's not going to be utilized. So I think this, as with everything, is a balance on net. As a countywide, we've met the statewide VMT target in 2019 and 2021. If you look at individual UGAs, there's a discrepancy across Whatcom County in terms of like VMT per census block. The areas that are outside of city limits are the ones in unincorporated Whatcom County that tend to be above the average, because we have a predominantly rural land base. So, I mean, I think that you've gone through and evaluated each proposal and made a determination to try to allocate growth towards cities, but there's also a balance of ensuring that the smaller cities and the medium-sized cities are also have some share of jobs and employment. And it's not only in Bellingham. Has been your discussion as well.
So you can't run that model again with our modified proposals, or modified UGA's densities, et cetera, as for our preliminary approval, I guess. Is that what I'm hearing?
We don't have that scope with the consultant to do another run, but I mean, the range of alternatives that were considered, right, were considered, and so what the proposals within that range. There's a lot of things that model could never contemplate, right? Like work from home, strategies, and we've got cottage industry codes and home-based business codes in the rural areas so that folks don't have to drive. And then we've got increased, those cities did take higher employment allocations than typical, trying to create jobs in their own communities, right? So those folks don't have to drive to Bellingham. So all of those things cumulatively could contribute to reducing VMT, but that's really hard to model that, right, accurately,
I will say that we've asked for comments from Commerce, and if they come back in regards to this or anything in the climate element and say that we need to be taking in a different approach, we're open to that. That's one of the reasons that we asked for state feedback, because these are new requirements and there's a lot of different potential interpretations of how to meet them. So This is something that we've asked them for feedback on, but there's some nuance, I would say, here in terms of the interpretations and the effectiveness of any mitigation measure on reducing emissions.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dodd.
Just my last question on that one, as we look forward down the road, you said it's a new process, a new requirement, so I understand we're kind of figuring things out as we go. Is there it sounds like there's gonna be measurements, like in 5 years or in 10 years, how do you do that kind of measurement on vehicle miles traveled?
Sure. So Whatcom Council of Governments has their travel demand survey out right now. They made a commitment to try to increase responses from unincorporated Whatcom County to try to improve the representativeness of the survey. That's what they use as a basis to determine forecasting of transportation needs. And they also received funding from the legislature to improve the model. So they're improving traffic counts, and then they'll be updating the regional transportation plan on a required update schedule. That's the forum for the county and the cities to coordinate on regional transportation planning. So I think we'll continue to refine. We also added a question on there about electric vehicle ownership, because we're trying to get a better sense of like what that might look like in terms of forecasted offset over time. And then there's a required review and evaluation period for the climate element. So if we determine that these strategies are not particularly effective in addressing these issues, then we can continue to go back and refine that and work on looking for implementation funding as well. So I would say that like there's some uniqueness about Whatcom County in terms of like the existing land use patterns, and some of the approaches recommended in the climate guidance are going to be very effective in a place that has high urban densities and maybe less effective in a like a unincorporated rural area. So I think we can also continue to coordinate with other peers that have a more rural land base and determine like how to set appropriate per capita VMT reduction goals.
Any other questions, comments?
I've got a bunch of other questions, but if somebody else has questions, I'm gonna hog the limelight there. Okay, so I was kind of going through public comment, and I guess we'll get through a couple if we can. There's a comment about incorporating asbestos safety. Matt, maybe you could tell me about this one. I know in the resource lands, I think chapter, we made some changes there to talk about naturally occurring asbestos, added to creek, some comments there. Do you feel like that's sort of is enough to acknowledge that yes, naturally occurring asbestos is danger and we're gonna mitigate around it? Do you feel like we should add anything into this chapter?
I think that comment might have been on a different chapter, if I recall correctly. I mean, did you say that was in the environment chapter or the resource chapter?
I just read them as they come in, and
Okay.
yeah, no worries. It's covered.
I don't have
Okay.
it. I don't.
Okay, no worries. Sounds good. I think this the chapter has some maybe leftover language from 20 or 30 years ago. When we talk about like things like rural character and kind of quality of life and those kind of things. Would you be okay going through maybe revising some of that to bring it a little more up to date with how we talk about people now?
Well, I would suggest you might be free to do that. I'm up to my eyeballs right now, so I don't really have a lot of time. Rural character.
I think yeah. It's
Rural
not
character.
urban character. I think it's who it all fits.
I like
I
quality.
mean, rural character is a term in the GMA, so just, you know,
Yeah.
I look at the RCW 36, 2807.
Yeah, and I just we can look at it when it comes up too.
Can I do one?
Yeah.
2104, 2-104.
Okay, let me bring that up.
Gotta be a good one though.
I think it's a good one.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Look at it carefully.
2104?
Yeah, 2-104.
Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, let me share this.
2-1. Right at the top?
Page 2-104.
Oh, page, okay.
Or it's 2-103-2-104.
Okay.
Well, it's discussing the Lummi tribe you know, and it doesn't discuss the Nookshack tribe at all. You know, this whole section before that's discussing working with different areas, the UGAs, then Sudden Valley, special districts, then it mentions the private parcels surrounded by the national parks, and it says subdivisions on Lummi Reservation. No, it doesn't say anything about the Nooksack tribe, though. Just curious.
Good point. It's talked about special study areas.
I can,
Commissioner Hampton.
City of Bellingham provides, water to the Lummi Reservation, and Lummi Reservation has its own sewer system. So it might be more pertinent than to Nooksack, which I would imagine be on septic and wells.
Yeah, I just mentioned Sudden Valley, so I don't know, it just seemed like it was mentioning different communities. I'm not saying it needs to be in there, I was more curious if there was a reason why it wasn't, and maybe that's just it, that we don't have any real interaction in the same ways as these other UGAs and special districts.
Not to that level that we do with Lummi and with Sudden Valley and, yeah, those areas. We do, we coordinate with Nooksack, but it's project specific, yeah.
There are a lot of fee simple lots within the reservation.
Yep.
That, you know, county regulates.
Right, on the Lummi Reservation.
Yeah, right.
Not the case.
No, it's the other way with Nooksack, if there's no reservation and there's a few trust lands
Yeah.
within the
Yeah.
county.
Right, yeah.
Just, about the asbestos, now I remember that letter, there's someone who was concerned about the city of Blaine expanding up on the Sumas Mountain, where there's a threat of destabilization of geologic areas that could have asbestos. I think that's what the connection was for chapter 2, but no longer pertinent since Blaine isn't expanding its UGARs at this session. Yeah.
Wait, I gotta.
Don't worry, I've been watching.
I saw your crying.
Kelvin's learning me too well. It took 4 years.
Should we, just call it and
I think we should pick it up.
Yeah.
And pick it up.
We got some amendments, so ready, all queued up.
Mark, when's our next work session on this chapter?
Public hearing,
The public hearing will be on the 16th, which is a Tuesday
The 16th meeting at 6 PM.
at 6 PM,
Yep.
followed by chapter 3 housing public hearing on the 18th.
it's a Tuesday and a
Tuesday and a
Thursday.
Thursday.
What are the dates there?
Before Thanksgiving.
First one is,
This
December 16th
thank you.
and
And-
18th.
December 18th.
Worked out perfect for me. I had
That
a
one.
grandchild's football game down at Everett on Wednesday.
Oh, perfect.
It worked out perfect.
Well,
But
you need
the next
an
meeting
excuse
is
not
on.
to be here.
Next
Well, no,
Thursday,
I don't want to abandon
11th.
everybody. But
That
I'd like
will
to
be,
thank
finish, it'll be on the,
Okay, ma'am.
we have a little code amendment for Lummi Island that should take
Thank you for coming.
5 minutes. We have to get done, and then it's all the appendices for the comp plan. And it is finishing chapter
People who have
10, I think
doctors
you've
don't
got the only
understand
ones left, and those are Kevin's, right?
Yeah.
Chapter 10. And so that's next Thursday, the
I
11th.
understand a lot.
I'll try to get, we have a short
They do.
section of those
They do.
that are, pretty quick, chapter 10.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
No, I was happy to see that date change over.
That was on the way in.
Commissioners, the chair has not adjourned the meeting.
We were talking about planning commission business.
We technically were, first of all,
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.